Wait, I forgot my makeup.
Oh, I swear.
Welcome
Freaking Jesus, man. I swear to G, folks.
Welcome into this last and final episode of AAPI VTuber Talks. This is episode 5, The Rise of Asian Cool Riding the Asian Culture Wave. I'm your host, AtramentumX, Rise streamer and Vtuber, and proud Asian American. I'm here with an all-new cast of Asian American VTubers, and we're here to talk about their interests and hobbies, and how being Asian American, as well as having an interest in Asian culture, has shaped their content. Coming back to the series is my co-host for tonight, the one and only danchohorang. Dancho, give Chad a little introduction.
Well, I have been gone for a while.
Thank you, Dancho.
Good talk. Good talk.
Dancho is a
Okay.
Korean tiger VTuber who originally appeared on Series 1, Episode 1, the Asian Masculinity episode. Yeah, and he's on hiatus.
Yes, danchohorang, boss of the Golden Tiger Casino, or as I was well known before I disappeared. But I am here as a co-host to talk about all things Asian, American, and all things that are influenced by such. Thank you for having me, Atra.
Absolutely. It's an honor to have you on here as my co-host. Joining us are 3 other VTubers from America and Canada. Making a return appearance to the pod is Althemia.
Aloha! I'm Althemia, but you guys can call me Allie for short.
Tell us a bit about yourself, Allie.
It'd be Althie.
I do have some people that call me Althea, yeah. Or Mia.
Okay. Just so I'm clear.
Yes, you can call me Althea or Mia too. I'm a mischievous Hawaiian spirit, and most of my content revolves around visual novels.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Oh, tell us what your ethnic background is also, by the way.
Oh, I'm mixed with African American and Samoan, but most of my Samoan side of the family actually lives in Hawaii, so that's how I got my whole Hawaiian theme.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Allie.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping up the rear of the panel are 2 brand new guests to this year's series. Starting with Pretty Night Lori. Tell us a bit about yourself, Lori.
Hello, greetings, folks. My name is Lori, aka the Pretty Knight. I go by they, she pronouns, and I am Filipino-Canadian. I'm a good old Maplelander. I focus on mainly J-fashion content, like mainly IRL content, actually, focusing on J-fashion or Japanese street fashion, as well as VTuber content and like whatever the heck else I like to talk about, like magical girl anime and whatnot. It's very nice to be here. Thank you so much, Atra, for letting me join you.
Absolutely. Thank you for being on. I've always seen you sort of around and on Twitter and such, doing so much to boost up other VTubers. I figured it'd be nice to have you on for a conversation as well.
I like to live in your walls and put you on my wall.
Lori is in every male VTuber's walls.
Whoa!
You've seen that literal wall.
Oh my gosh! I gotta tell you how many VTubers I have on my wall now.
More?
Wait, did you get it? Did you get it to stick back up? Because it fell last time I saw.
Yes, we're almost at 700 now.
Oh my god.
Do you like tape them or?
Yes.
I was gonna say if you want to make them last longer but don't want to destroy your walls, there are those like sticky stuff on the sticky wall stuff. I can send you later from
the
Amazon.
command strips?
Definitely.
Or the Play-Doh like ones?
The red ones.
Oh, okay,
Sure.
but putting VTubers to your wall with command strips, that's some commitment. And you know how
I
VTubers,
mean, I mean, unless she wants to have like survival of the fittest, where only the worthy may stay up there, the ones who fall are no longer worthy of a wall.
Okay, I'm getting sidetracked. Our final guest tonight, last but not least, is Dolce. Tell us a bit about yourself, Dolce.
Hello, it's me, Dolce, your demonic gal pal. I do a lot of, well, when I'm active, I am an artist. I do a lot of JRPGs, Souls-like, Sonic, a lot of Sonic content.
Sonic.
And a lot of fashion and otherwise, you know. And I think I am Filipino American. I was not born in the Philippines. I was born in America. But I am full Filipino.
Thank you very much, Soul J. Great to have
Okay,
you.
I gotta say one thing real quick.
Uh-huh.
Like the second you said Sonic, I noticed like your circle thing behind your head, and now I can't stop seeing it spinning.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
It's
it is
bigger when I
literally
raise my
spinning,
eyebrows.
but I'm imagining like Sonic, like I don't know. I have a
Rolling
dumb
around
mind.
at the same time.
All right.
No, gotta follow by rainbow.
Yeah. And as for me, I didn't mention before, but I am Indian American, 5th generation, born and raised in New York. Right, so tonight's topic, we're talking a bit about our childhoods and our cultural interests. So we're gonna go dive right into it, but some groundkeeping. Chat, you may ask questions of our guests at any time. Just keep it on topic. You can put them in chat. I'm also gonna get you a link for anonymous question box. I don't know why you'd have to ask a question honestly for this topic, but I'll have it up there anyway. Anyway, going to our list of prepared questions. Let's talk about the late 2000s.
Boy.
The question is, the late 2000s were marked with an explosion of not only of social media, but also microblogging sites such as Zanga, WordPress, and Tumblr. Did you blog back in the day? If so, what about? Do you still have those interests? That was a tongue twister. Zanga, WordPress,
I
and
understood
But I'm
each
like
of those
nodding.
words individually.
So when I read the question, I originally thought you said
Oh, we have the
just the
questions. Your word.
2000s. Yeah, it's
Oh.
in the chat.
Yes,
I'll
yes,
tag
yes,
you,
yes,
hang
yes.
on.
So
No, I found it. Pay attention.
Okay.
So originally when I read it, I thought you meant literally just the year 2000, and I was like, I was like 4 then. What do you mean?
I'm recognizing there's a generational gap with you and the rest of the panelists.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, so-
no! Am I a baby?
Yes, you are a
Lord.
baby.
I was
Oh, no!
during the 2000s, but my question is, the fuck is Zanga?
You don't know what Zanga is?
Oh,
Oh, it's
God.
not just
I feel
me. It's
fucking
not just
old.
me.
Oh no.
Like, isn't WordPress like Microsoft? Everyone knows like Tumblr, but what the fuck is Zanga?
No, live journal.
I also
Can you
didn't know
remember
what
that?
Zynga
The
was.
fuck is LiveJournal?
Wait. WordPress is a thing, right? That used to be a blogging site. Am I like misremembering?
Wait, is that not Microsoft Word?
No,
No,
that's
Blogging press?
Yeah, I was just
Funny.
wondering, like, wait, did people used to share like Microsoft Word back in the day?
I was like, where documents and stuff would go, right?
okay. Setting
They're
aside the
just
two babies for a
blog
second. Dolce and Lori.
Hey, hold up.
Hey, oh my god.
Yeah. Did either of you two either have a Tumblr or a blog back in the day? And what about?
Oh, I definitely had a Tumblr. If y'all were like into like everything from like fandoms and like especially alternative fashion, whew, that's how I got my sources. They
Yeah.
probably weren't the best sources for like especially for J fashion, but it was still something.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was more so because I was more on like the art side, so I was on DeviantArt and a little later on Gaia, and that's what I'd be like
Yeah.
sharing a lot of
Gaia
stuff.
Online.
Yeah, Gaia Online is the pipeline from
Gaia.
Gaia Online to VTuber is crazy. But yeah, you know, it was that stuff is where it was like the wild west of the internet for all kinds of things. For internet culture, for J fashion, for things becoming popular, indie artists, you know, other kinds of very like specific, like, I mean, I don't think kendama didn't blow up back then, but I think that's like it's like a similar, it followed a similar path where it had started with a small subgroup of enthusiasts, and then as it got bigger and bigger, and whoever was like sharing the content got noticed more, the subculture got bigger, more popular. It takes a while usually though for it to become mainstream. But yeah, that stuff was.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
what was sort of your first like encounter with like J fashion, and like so how did it make you feel, and like what was your next step to sort of get into it as like a teenager, like back in that in those times?
Ooh, Dolce, do you want to go first?
I didn't really like a lot of I'm trying to remember her name. Ayazawa's manga. She's the one who did
Nana in like Paradise Kiss, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I love
yeah.
Nana.
Did
So-
someone say Nana?
I-
The amount of people that
Um,
tell me to watch that.
It's sad.
He's
So sad.
It's really
Apparently,
good.
I look like one person there.
Oh, what's his? Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, yes.
Is he bald?
Yes.
Yes.
But a lot of their work has a very deep-rooted like J fashion, and a lot of their characters are always in these like really extravagant outfits. And I saw that as a kid, and I was just like, "Whoa, how do I dress like that?" And
Yes.
there's that, and like it was also mixed with like, you know, like scene and emo culture. You know, was people who were scene and emo were also into anime usually, so that stuff got mixed in, and and then like from there it's kind of like I don't know, you just find what subculture really resonates with you, like in terms of their message or their aesthetic and all that kind of stuff.
Was there ever any
Totally.
part of you that's like, hey, I'm Asian, so like I should really be really into this, or like was like did you develop an interest into it like independent of your like Asian identity, I guess is the question.
It was like separate for me because like nothing in Filipino culture like remotely looks like that.
Right.
A lot of their like dress is very traditional, or like my cousins in the Philippines were trying to dress how we were in the States. So like they would really like Abercrombie and Fitch and Aeropostale and all that kind of stuff, because it was just like fancy name brand stuff, quote unquote.
It's very American influenced streetwear. And now,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
even now, like, I find that we tend to absorb like a lot of like different trends from like everywhere, even like from both like American streetwear as well as like Asian streetwear, which is like really
Yeah.
it gets you like a very fascinating fusion.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Okay, so my question is, if it's not Tumblr, can I talk about MySpace?
Absolutely. Yeah. No.
Oh my gosh!
Like
MySpace
I want to.
was part of it too.
The whole,
MySpace
the whole
was definitely
question
part of
is
it.
like I want to know what you all were getting up to like in the late 2000s, like on the internet, basically.
So I was a very awkward kid, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And MySpace brought out the most awkwardness in me because for some reason I never knew that other people could see my MySpace.
Oh,
So I said many, many things I would come to regret.
Oh no!
buddy. Oh no!
Oh no.
Well, regret as a 10-year-old, relatively. So you know, it's not something I'd be canceled for on the internet nowadays. But you know,
Yeah.
Facebook took over after. Poor
Big
Tom.
old yikes! Yeah.
Yeah, no,
If
I
anyone
feel
remembers
that.
Tom, you're an OG.
Hell yeah, dude. It was like the same on Gaia and MySpace, like the way that I typed, and I was like, you know, in like early middle school around that time. And every once in a while I'll still come back to my Gaia because I like just kind of I just like playing on the stock markets on Gaia.
What?
The markets,
There's a who what on Gaia?
the markets,
market?
you know.
What the
Before like the inflation hit really bad on Gaia, like it was fun to play the
Truly an Asian.
marketplace. It was
That
like
is the most
it was
Asian thing
like
said on this
stock
entire
market,
podcast.
but
This
with,
month.
with fashion and accessories and pets, you know, it was instead of like boring old bonds, it was just like this scarf is worth 10,000, but if I wait for a little bit,
Like it's kind of like the World of Warcraft type of like shop and craft
buy
kind of
and
thing, right?
sell and
Flipping.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Poshmark.
Okay.
It's like
I
that.
online items. Got it.
Yeah,
Mhm,
basically. Um, but I'd be watching like how things would inflate like every day after school. um,
While
but
you're
yeah,
doing that,
no.
play Neopets.
Yeah, that's you with Neopets.
Oh,
I was into
that
that
was my
shit.
jam.
I like
Mhm.
Neopets.
Yeah,
It's
Neopets.
back now too.
Yeah, no, it is.
Right? It's
It's
crazy.
I
expanded a
quit because of my
lot.
They
pet
have like
died.
little gotcha Neopets at GameStop of like the stuffed
Wait,
animals. I want to
really?
get some.
Yeah, my
Oh
Neopet like
no.
ran away or something, and I quit.
They can run away.
Away?
I didn't know they
I
could
didn't know
do
they could even do that.
Yeah.
I remember one could disappear back then. I don't know if it's just because like something happened to my account or that was the actual mechanic, but I remember being sad about my
That's
imaginary virtual pet.
horrifying.
Oh
That's so
Aw.
sad.
Yeah. But going back to the question, I was actually never a Tumblr kid. Even Twitter was more of a recent thing, right?
Mhm.
I don't know. It's just for me, I had an inkling where if I tried social media, I would be heavily addicted to its influence. Yes, and that is what happened with me in terms of MySpace and uh, Facebook. I was a huge addict. I managed to grab myself out of said addiction until Twitter came along as a VTuber, and now I'm on Twitter more than half the day. I don't know. It's good
Oh
for scrolling.
shit.
It's bad.
Yeah, damn.
It's real bad.
Good
I feel
and
you on that.
bad. Yeah, my parents also did not like social media, even if they did not have any idea what it was. Them being Asians, all they had to hear was one parent say that's bad for your kid, and that's pretty much what was declined to me. But of course, that got my curiosity to seek it out more, find different ways to bypass that you have to be 13 or 18 plus sort of checks,
Oh yeah, you could
Yep.
take the drop downs like, oh yeah, I was born in 1960.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was also a very honest kid. Like I was not even allowed to play. I did not allow myself to play MapleStory until I actually turned 13.
That's...
Oh, I was on it.
Sorry.
Wait. MapleStory was a 13 plus game.
Yep.
Back then, something like that.
Why?
I
It
remember.
was so
I just
vanilla.
remember I was not old enough for the game. I mean, to be fair, they had swords hacking at like Mushroom Man. I guess that was not allowed.
Eh.
It could be that, or like the fact that you can interact with strangers online, and they were like, maybe not.
Oh,
Yeah, 13
yes.
sounds okay.
Okay, yes, fair point.
The DMs I received with a female avatar.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, no.
Oh boy.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah, ladies, I get you on the VTuber spear.
Ah, yes, Don Shore, feminist champion.
I want to hear
I'm
Opa now, like,
true.
you, period cramps, you leave her alone.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we had
actually.
Lori and Dulce blogging and tumbling J Fashion, and we had Don Show catfishing pedophiles. How about you, Allie?
Wow, that realization just made me just look into the stars. Wow, that actually, huh? Now that you mention it, I know I just joked about it, but until you said it, I'm just like, damn, that kind of hit me different now. Oh, I'm truly sorry for you gals out there.
I wasn't. I mean, I had a Facebook, but I didn't really use it. I kind of just used it to talk with my fam that was like in Hawaii or Samoa. And the most I would say blogging wise, I did have like a cosplay blog on Tumblr
There we go.
because I
So-
like to.
Yeah, tell me a bit about your cosplay blog.
Yeah.
Like, what were you into like in that time?
I was like really into props and people making props. So most of the props would end up that I would find that I thought were cool and stuff. I'd put it on the blog, and some cosplays and stuff. I put it on the blog, or I'd put like other things from cons and stuff on the blog. And I remember when I started blogging it is when I really started realizing, like, a lot of this stuff is Asian themed. Because I didn't really think back then, like
Right.
anime cosplay and all that stuff being like related to Asian stuff.
Equals Asian, yeah.
Yeah, I just thought of it as another like cool thing to watch that my parents hated.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
So it was kind of then, and I remember like I would look at pictures of con stuff. I was like, I wonder what this is. And I'd take it to my mom and I'd be like, Mom, what's this snack in this picture? And she'd tell me exactly what it is, its origins, and what it tastes like and everything. And I was just always like, tell me more.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
I think
it's
like
interesting.
cosplaying.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think like cosplaying and all that stuff really got me more into like the culture. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's a good. I like that you brought up too, like that, like anime didn't seem implicitly Asian when you first encountered it, because that's true actually. Like throughout the late '80s, early '90s, like it was all dubbed. Like there were no subtitled anime available whatsoever. We know the infamous like localization of Pokemon, for example, the jelly donut thing, for example. Instead of
Not the jelly donut
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Here I have
Power
searched for jelly
Rangers were
donuts.
completely westernized, so it was
I
scripted.
remember when
Yeah.
I watched that episode in the living room as a kid, and my mom was so upset when she heard jelly donut, and I was so confused. I looked at her like, "What's wrong?"
So here's the thing about me. When I saw that, I asked my father for jelly donut, and he brought me a jelly donut. It's just not the jelly donut that I thought was that jelly donut.
True, eh? Oh my gosh! Because I was like, as a Canadian, we love our Timmies, so like we could easily get our jelly donuts, no problemo. But like, my jelly donuts didn't look like that in the anime either. So I feel you. on
Yeah,
that,
I mean, I feel like a lot of us also don't realize they're Asian because of the localization, right? But also because
Right.
the names, right? It's not like you
Yeah.
hear. How many of you actually know what Ash Ketchum's name is in Japanese?
Oh, I know this.
I know.
Was it...
Well, I know this first name.
Okay.
Yeah, I know his- I know his first
don't
name.
worry.
Yeah, I don't know if
Dang,
like
I didn't know his
I don't
last
even know
name had something.
Satoshi,
I thought they just
right?
wanted
No.
to rhyme with ketchup.
Yeah, I don't
Oh,
know
I
if
thought it was
Satoshi has
Hiroshi.
like a last name that's much.
Or is it-
No,
no,
his name is Satoshi.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Character in the
Ash-
Pokemon anime named Hitoshi though.
yeah. Oh, did they? Well, in the very early episodes of the Jelly Donut Pokemon, right? He just went with Satoshi. I don't believe he had a last name, right? Him having a last name was just more for, I guess, to make the pun. Ash Ketchum, right?
Right.
Ketchum.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe even the name Ash was due to a specific person. I forgot that reason why they named him Ash of all things, but the Ketchum, obviously Ketchum, but I thought it was ketchup, but that's a different story.
She
Like,
spelled
I-
with like Ash in it. I thought they literally just took Ash out of Satoshi.
I don't think
Isn't
that's, I'm not sure actually.
Satoshi. No. wait.
No, I'm
No.
misspelling it out in my head. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, you were cooking for
Ignore
a second
me.
there, and I'm like, wait a
Yeah.
minute.
I was thinking about it too. Like I had my brain gears turning for a second.
Like,
I
wait.
don't-
Yeah. And I mean, Pokemon honestly might be a wild example because every single Pokemon got their names changed. And honestly, I kind of give it a pass because some of the names are better in English, in my opinion, but vice versa.
Of course.
But going back to the original topic in hand is that we never thought it was anime because of all the things changed to match our
yes.
thoughts in Japanese. And it's
They
not like we
un-Asianified it.
specifically. Yeah, it's not like we specifically saw race as kids. We knew what we were, but we never saw the divide or correlation in that sort of pretense.
Right.
When it comes to like animes of that day and age, I really started to know because I got into this specific anime later in life. But I really started to notice it with Yu-Gi-Oh, the original Yu-Gi-Oh. And I was like,
That's a good point, actually.
some of this doesn't make sense.
What? You don't like Joey Wheeler?
I love Joey, but
Who's
I started
the
noticing more
aggressively
things.
American
like,
guy, Bandit Keith, was it?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, he had the American
America.
bandana and everything.
Yup. good old four kids like making people
Bang,
randomly
bang.
from Brooklyn, like what was
Bang,
it?
bang.
Joey and Sanji also had like a crazy accent too.
Which is
So
crazy
who's
because that's
Sanji?
like a dead accent. Like
So
nobody speaks like that
so
anymore
iconic,
in New York.
honestly.
But I really
I-
started to notice it with Yu-Gi-Oh, especially what was it was the Pyramid of Light movie where I really started to notice it because they did a lot of changes to that movie actually when it came to America.
Oh, you
I
know what's
will
funny?
never forget. Yeah.
Actually, the second you said America, so I used to read a lot of manga as a kid, right? After I learned what anime was, I used to read a lot of manga. But the thing is, I never realized that manga, most mangas are set in Japan, obviously,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
But back then, I didn't know what Japan was. I thought it was all originated in America. So when they said I thought Tokyo was a made up manga thing that everyone shared. Then when they said we live in Japan, I'm thinking, what is Japan? How is this different from America? And that's when I realized, oh my god, there are different states out there, countries.
The
And of
case of
course, like-
Ace Attorney, you would naturally get really confused because they're
Yeah,
based
no, yeah.
they're based in America,
That's
but
America
everything's like
land.
Japanese themed. And it's like, what?
I'm pretty sure like the character select screen of Street Fighter would have blown your mind with all those flags, Oppa.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
That's our
like,
personal
obviously, I
countries.
knew. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I knew different countries, right? But
Yeah.
like, I don't know. It was just more like I assumed that every setting in manga was not Japan; it
Oh,
was
mhm.
America.
America. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah.
That makes sense.
You know,
Yeah, so like
that
when there were
does, like-
different cultures, I'm like, hey, why don't we have a bathroom like that? You know?
You just
That does
unlocked
actually,
like a horrible
made me
memory
think
of like
about-
M Bison and like Thailand, like because it's like I could not beat M Bison. Just hear in my head, Thailand.
Oh,
Thailand.
that's what you meant. I thought you
Over
were
and over.
talking about the changes of Street Fighter with the trio, Vega, Balrog, and M Bison. How their three names were changed from Japan to America because of M Tyson's.
Oh yeah. That's the thing that
controversy.
happened. Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, so basically, for those who don't know, there was a trio of bad guys in Street Fighter. In Japan, they are named Balrog, Vega, and M Tyson, or not? Sorry, not M Tyson. What's his freaking name changed to
M.
Bison?
Bison?
M
Bison.
Bison. There we
Yep.
go. Yes. His name was changed to Bison, but because of Mike Tyson's controversy during that time, they switched three of the characters. Right. So Balrog became M Bison became Vega, and Vega became Balrog. Right. And
Ah.
it's hard to show without pictures, but yeah, it's like if you
I'll put it in
hear.
there in editing.
Yeah. If you hear, say, a Japanese player called this one specific one Balrog, then they're probably an old player because I believe they updated it nowadays, like with Street Fighter
did, yeah.
6.
Yeah.
Yeah, they now changed it because of how big the American scene influenced, said Asian game.
Mhm.
But that's not the. Sorry, I got sidetracked. That's like
It's
besides
all
the
fine.
point.
Good, you're good.
Yeah.
I will say though,
Right.
I know that like this, like what we're currently talking about, like it's kind of like on on a different question that we're gonna be covering like a little bit afterwards.
Mhm.
But I wanted to like contribute to this alongside with the original question that we had, if I may, because Dancho actually like got me thinking about something like when I was a kid, actually, when I was first getting into manga, is that like growing up with anime, like yeah, you get so used to the localizations when you are in like North America. But when I got into manga, most of the time the series that I grew up watching, the manga adaptation never got localized. So seeing like my favorite series being like directly translated and not seeing Ichigo being called Zoe on like the pages or anyone having their English names on the manga really like bent my mind.
Oh, okay.
As
I
a
thought we were
kid.
talking about Bleach for a second. I was like, when
Yeah.
was Ichigo
Ichigo is
Kurosaki
probably-
named Zoe?
That's what I was
did
thinking,
Oh
I
yeah,
was like,
sorry.
wait, huh?
Sorry, I was talking about Sorry, I was talking about Tokyo Mew Mew. Haha, magical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ichigo
Okay, I
and
remember.
Strawberry and okay.
Yeah, I remember Ichigo being called Zoe in the fucking in
Yeah.
the dub. I remember now. Okay, I'm
Right?
on the same page now. I'm on the same page now.
Mm-mm. But yeah, like like hearing that, like it really reminded me of that. I don't know if there's anyone else that wanted to contribute to like the current topic that we had in hand, but I did want to kind of go back, if I may, on the original questions about like the whole social media and like microblogging and whatnot.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so like I do believe that when it came to stuff like this, like from like discovering anime and all sorts of other like sources of like Asian pop culture, I find that like the rise of social media truly became our new word of mouth. Like there wasn't really the best sources, especially when it came to like consuming media. Like we'll never forget the times when we had to watch anime in like 5 parts with only like 720 like EDP, the most crunchiest audio you can imagine. But I find that like it was still such a fun way of discovering more of that culture. I know that like when I was getting into J fashion for the first time, that was actually the start of when Japanese like brands that like Angelic Pretty and like Baby the Starstone Bright, they first were dipping their toes into international shipping and even having like international like I guess you could say like more international represented is it like representative? Yeah, that's the right word, right?
International market, maybe.
Yeah, international marketing. Thank you, Zoe.
Representation, maybe.
Yeah,
Okay.
like more like international representation in like North America, because very slowly they started to realize like, oh, there are some folks that like this fashion that are not in Japan. Gears are turning.
Yeah, then you saw like the very nascent like sort of like e-commerce start to pop up, like Yes Asia. I'm not sure if there's any equivalent like websites in Canada, but like, there was a couple that would like ship you things from like Korea and Japan or whatever it is. So, like,
Oh, the
very
magical
niche.
shopping services. Yes.
Yes, yes.
You know
yes.
what?
Good old-
You know what was niche? AMVs.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh!
Yes. Oh my stars.
I thought AMVs meant anime music videos, but no, it turns out it's animated music videos or something like that.
I thought it was anime music videos this
I
whole
thought they
time.
were videos too.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Later,
my
it was like
gosh.
it was the actual term was animated, but I guess
Huh.
yeah, no, yeah, the Nightcore shit with like
Oh,
Hatsune Miku.
Nightcore.
We were all today
Yeah.
years old when we learned this, folks.
I was a heavy Hatsune Miku fan. Even I still am, like out of nostalgia. Like I have several of her merch. Hell, like I saw a store and I'm gonna buy her hair.
Oh, you reminded me.
Hell
of-
yeah.
You reminded me. There's this dress collaboration with Hatsune Miku and a J fashion brand that I really like, and I gotta show you because they just released a figure of it too.
Ooh.
Hell yeah.
I will put it on the side chat, and you shall bask in her glory. Her frilly,
You know,
frilly
it's interesting
glory.
that you mentioned the AMVs because, like, you can see there's like a very steady progression from like the localization of the '90s to like 4Kids and they're like sort of clumsy localization to like kids getting onto the internet for the first time and downloading what they want directly and like consuming it and then making AMVs. So where we are now, like the Crunchyroll era, where like you're getting the pure uncut, like you're getting it at the same time Japan gets it now, and you're getting it in
Yeah.
Japanese, And
Yeah,
that's like
but
kind
I'm
of
a
been like
poor
the big
bitch.
shift that I've seen in my lifetime is like anime has finally come back to its Asian roots.
Yeah, because like
Oh.
if anything nowadays, if you change their names, then people would get mad about that. Actually,
Yeah, it's weird and
then
cringy if you like localize it now in that way.
it's
Right?
it's a reverse now. Back then, it was like made so that we, the audience, even as Asian Americans, like we would connect more with the character. That's why like friends of mine don't consider, say, Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh an anime. These are my Asian friends, but we don't consider it an anime. We consider it cartoon because we're still more used to the name Ash Ketchum.
Yeah,
than
you're
we
correct,
are to
actually.
Satoshi. You know?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
It
Like,
became an
now-
American cartoon essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And some people consider that
Yeah.
with Dragon Ball, but Goku only has 2 syllables. It's easy to remember.
Yeah.
Now the
What
thing is,
you
nobody
just
could say
said-
it was Kakarot.
What you just said, paired with something Doncho said earlier, just reminded me. Have you guys ever seen the I'm talking about the original, by the way, not the new one that came out. But have you guys ever seen the side-by-side comparison of the original Lilo and Stitch movie of how 9/11 changed it?
Oh yes, I remember.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yes.
I have
Okay. I
not.
thought we were gonna go into like the recent movie one, but okay. Yeah.
I was
No,
about
not
to,
the
might as
recent
well.
one.
I mean,
I
The
have
recent
words
one's
about
being
the
called out
recent
enough on the
characters.
internet. I'll give it a break.
Fair.
I get that. Yep.
But ironically, when they changed it, even though they changed it because of 9/11, when they changed it, they made the landscapes more authentic to Hawaii. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, because originally there was a lot of like cityscapes and stuff, and yeah, there's like big buildings and stuff in Hawaii, but a lot of the places outside of like those little sections are still like mountainy, naturey. Like it's still very strongly more naturey than I don't know how to describe it.
It's rural. It's a rural mountainous like
Yeah, it's a very
place
rural
outside
mountain
of like
area.
Honolulu, for example.
I'm gonna be very
Yeah.
honest. My entire perception of Hawaii is just Lilo and Stitch.
I mean,
the
in some
TV
ways,
series
that's
was
good,
pretty
though,
accurate.
Yeah.
Okay.
The TV series in the original movie was pretty accurate to the landscape of Hawaii because Honolulu is pretty much the biggest city in Hawaii, and also I think the only city where you see giant buildings and stuff, or at least where you see the biggest buildings.
Multi-story.
add
There's
on
smaller
that-
areas here and there, but they're still more rural than anything else.
To add on that, from what I remember in the behind the scenes, they specifically located that movie in the island of Kauai to make it more rural. So I feel like they actually did make that scene like make more sense actually, because yeah, I don't know how the heck they would all of a sudden like be in a more like urban setting in order to hijack that plane. So I think like they actually made like the movie a little like make a little bit more sense when they just set it
I
back
think
on
what
like
they were
like, rural
thinking
islands.
of when they're thinking, oh, if you're hijacking a plane, you're in a more city-filled area.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
I think that's what they were thinking, but that is also a thing. They made it make more
Yeah.
sense than
Exactly.
all of a sudden having skyscrapers.
Mhm.
That's actually really interesting. I did not know that about like any of that movie actually. Both the setting and
Yeah.
the way it was changed.
There's actually
It was
a
only
half-hour
the ending
documentary
that was
about it.
changed.
See.
It was only the ending when Lilo got kidnapped. It was only that scene that was changed.
Gotcha. This actually delves pretty nicely into the one of the questions that's prepared, which is about anime culture, actually. So the question is, as VTubers, we are all intrinsically linked with anime culture, even if we more heavily lean towards gamer or crafter in the content we make. What are your feelings on anime culture as it is right now? Do you still watch anime or call yourself an anime fan? Is there something indelible that links anime and the Asian American experience?
So I feel like we've
Yeah.
definitely like delved into this tenfold. But like it for good reason though, because like it's like here's the thing about like anime, like it's been like going on since like I don't know, like maybe like this it kind of like got its footing in like the 60s and 70s at the earliest probably.
Yep.
But it didn't get in like it really didn't get its roots in North America until like as you said like the 1990s and the early 2000s. That's when we got that like running pace, and we just bolted since then as the rise of social media got into it. As we said before, like nowadays it's so easy now to like find and discover so many new series and discuss with like with different kinds of like we went from forums to like now we have social media, and now anime conventions have become bigger and bigger, like as the years have gone by. So,
Honestly, I really love the anime culture right now
mhm.
because like I feel like it's more diverse now. Like we have a VTuber
definitely.
anime for crying out loud.
Yeah.
And what's the name? What's the name of the deaf anime movie?
Oh, not a silent voice. Sign of affection.
Yes, thank you.
I
Well,
love
a silent
that
voice
one.
too, because it's also
Yeah.
deaf. But we have like more animes focusing on like real life problems now. Like
Mhm.
actual health issues and stuff. Like in the older animes, they'd cover the topic of health issues, but they would kind of just like say it's a random health issue and not really specify. Now they kind of like actually specify, like what's the anime with the weird name? I want to eat your pancreas.
Pancreas, yeah.
Oh, I thought I was
Yeah.
gonna go a different direction.
Yeah, me
Okay,
too.
never
You went very hard with the
No.
P there. Like, wait a minute.
Right. Where's
I'm
the song
like, that
music?
is not what we
Leave me
call
be.
anime in this culture, madam.
Is
Like,
there song
whoa.
music somewhere in the
No,
podcast room,
that
Atra?
type of that type of anime has a different name.
Answer the question, somebody else.
No, but I see
Oh
what you
yeah,
mean,
there's
though.
also
Like, it's definitely a lot more grounded in like the experiences of people and like actual like live experience.
yeah, there's also Sword Art Online that addressed AIDS.
Oh wow.
Mm. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
if I
it
remember
didn't-
right. Oh, sorry. Continue.
It didn't address AIDS as like AIDS is also like STD, right?
Sometimes.
No, I'm dumb.
Yes and no.
Sometimes,
Yes,
yeah.
I know. Yeah.
I know like a lot
it's
of people
blood transmitted
associate it.
disease, but
Yeah, associate it with like STDs usually for some reason. But
You
they
could
actually
think of it as
addressed
like
it
a-
through blood draws.
right, transfusion stuff too as well,
Yeah.
or mother to child as well.
And they definitely hit home on it because the whole family in SAO in that situation pretty much passed away.
Really?
Like that was a tearjerker moment.
Mm. Now, if we're talking about like how certain animes mimic real life, right, or also mimic phone calls and whatnot, but I believe there was one that in my opinion they didn't do a good job of it, but there was one called Wonder Egg. The one that looks like
Oh,
Coraline,
yeah, I heard
the American puppet movie. Or
Wonder
puppet
Egg
hero.
Priority?
Yes, and
Yeah, that's the one that
mhm,
they
I
tried
could
to
not-
talk about. They tried to.
Yes,
I
mental health.
can't
and
word it,
whatnot.
but
Mental
mental health.
illnesses,
There we
mental
go.
health. That's what their focus was. But again, in my opinion, they didn't do a great presentation of said topics, but they did, in my opinion, go the right direction. Right? It's one of those like situations where it's like the right direction, just not the greatest
Execution. Yeah.
I feel like they were on it. They were more focused with it when it comes to the right direction, when it comes to the flashbacks that they all had. But the rest of the anime, it did kind of feel like the actual topic of mental health took more of like a backseat.
Right.
Mm-mm.
But, moving that aside, if we're going to actually answer the question, what are your feelings on anime culture as it is right now?
Mhm.
No, I'm going to skip the ranting parts, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
But right now, I do believe that anime culture as a whole has been more holy and more genuinely
Say holy?
inclusive.
Okay, yeah.
With a W. Holy with a W. Whoa.
Oh.
But
Yeah.
it's a lot more involved, right? Within people's lives. There's people who live by the anime. There's people who quote unquote die by the anime. People who live their lives around anime, from those who weren't anime fans before. When you grew up, it wasn't seen as a culturally acceptable thing. You were moving that aside with that heavy topic, but it wasn't a well-developed culture back then. Nowadays, everybody loves it. If you don't love it, then you're gonna love it because there's gonna be one out there for you. You just got to give it a shot.
Absolutely.
Mm-mm.
I
The
do
only-
I do agree on
Current
that.
anime even brought back Toonami.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Especially, I find
Oh,
it like
Toonami.
especially like now the culture has become such it's grown so much ever since the whole global panini as well.
Mhm.
Now because like people took the
Oh,
time to actually
see.
try it out, like the whole culture has spread even more than it's ever like before. Going into like the question as well, like I do agree that like um anime has like anime as a whole, like people have created series that really address like certain topics. I personally like really like resonate with those that address like certain like gender stereotypes and tackling like toxic masculinity and stuff. I really relate to like series like those where they really address that like hey, it's okay to like be yourself, and there's no shame in liking what you like. One example that I can definitely recommend to you all would definitely be Sanrio Boys, for all you Sanrio beans that love the cute little mascots. It's about a bunch of boys who come to an understanding and embrace their more feminine and connect with each other as men and as like Sanrio fans. And the whole goal is like, even though it is a big commercial for the whole brand, it really like hones in, you know, um, there's no like the I guess you could say like the trampling of toxic masculinity, which we have covered in a previous podcast episode. I'm trying to like remember my notes here, but there's a lot of like different things I could also talk about, from like how different anime genres have also like contributed with other Western media sources, such as like the recent adaptation of Shira, even like Steven Universe. Like so many folks who grew up here in the West have had anime become their influence as a person, and like as they grew as a creator as well.
And
Absolutely.
a lot of the really cool thing is that it's kind of, anime isn't just Japanese anymore. We're getting so many, like, even artistically,
Solo leveling. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
we're getting things from studios from China. I believe they're called donghwas. Donghwas are becoming more popular. Manhwa. We're getting Filipino studios. We're getting studios from like so many different countries, and each one like the style that I've noticed that like each one has very specific kind of trademarks
Yes.
that make it almost recognizable where it comes from. Not that they all follow that, but like especially with like these Chinese studios, like they do like these really crisp lines, and like these insanely like saturated, beautifully like rendered, high frame rate, extremely detailed animations that I'm just like, that shot alone cost thousands of dollars to do, and they just put it in a random filler episode. That's crazy. The flex that's happening on screen right now, or even the Korean ones, like sometimes like they'll just be a random jump in quality, and I'm just like, what in the world?
Yeah, it
I
goes
feel
from
like
like
the
2
random
frames
jump in
to like
quality is
70
especially
Like
true of
RTX
that
on,
new-
basically. Just randomly.
Yeah, and I'm
I feel like
like,
that's especially true of that
Hmm.
new Chinese anime. I don't know the name, X something.
oh, To Be Hero, I think is what it was.
To Be
Yeah,
Hero.
that one.
That
Wait,
one,
is that the
yeah,
Yaoi
that
one?
that's no,
uh,
I don't.
Oh, sorry. I keep
Is it-
hearing online that's the Yaoi one. I'm like, oh,
That
is
might be
that...
Heaven's official blessing, but there are a lot of them.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, my bad.
A lot of people.
But yeah, they and especially because like with the culture going on in Japan for so long, you've gotten a lot more studios that just kind of like will just shit out content, you know.
Phone it in, yeah. Outsource the animation to Vietnam, like.
Yeah. Or it'll just be like they're just like it is very common to overwork their artists there,
Right.
very very hard, to the point where that's like kind of commonplace. Like how in the U.S. we've got a lot of game studios that will just, you know, like I'm looking at you, EA. You know,
Yeah, the
It's
crunch
like the
culture,
same-
basically.
Yeah, it's the same thing, but like
Yeah.
because this culture's a little bit more not necessarily new to other countries, but they're finally kind of getting their time to shine, so they're a lot more fresh-faced, and they are not thinking about how they can reiterate the art form, but more so um, uh, innovate on the art form, which is really incredible. It's such a like even just from an arts perspective, it is incredible to see.
This
Yeah,
is the
innovate
really
as well as like
lovely-
highlighting other like other Asian cultures too.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. This is the lovely
Mhm.
thing about the internet is that you're able to leapfrog the traditional gatekeepers of this sort of content, and we're not even just talking about Fox or CBS or whatever it is. Like even Crunchyroll, like if you want to watch some Korean manhwa or some donghua, you can do that now. You can seek it out and find it on your own, and I think that is kind of the beauty of the current culture. Is that you don't have to rely on anyone to give you that content. You can go and seek it out on your own. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's kind of my point, I guess.
So growing up, I always thought that the three major Asian ways to say it was manga. You know, obviously Japanese, manhwa, which is the Korean, and then the Chinese was manhua, right? But it's only recently that I learned that it's donghua or something like that, right?
Mhm.
Yes, donghua.
Or maybe they changed. Yeah, maybe they changed. But regardless, like, I'm just gonna say I don't believe I said it earlier, but as a Korean American, I'm gonna say the Chinese are really built different. Like, my lordy.
The shit they be putting out, dude, is
It's immaculate.
Crazy.
insane.
Mm.
Yeah.
Even
It
the
is. It's
shorts,
like-
Yeah.
so
No,
innovative.
and
No, like
It got
literally,
to the
look at my
point-
VTuber model. This was made in China in 1 week.
Yeah.
In one
What?
week?
1 week?
In 1 week.
What?
Yes.
No way.
My own background when
is
I used
insane.
to do these. Yeah, back when I used to do these talks myself, the background that I was given was made in like what, a day or two by whoever you recommended, Atra.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and they were from China too, I believe.
Oh no, the songs from India.
The model
but-
mama's from.
Never mind, completely forget this conversation. I'm so sorry.
I'm dying.
So I'm gonna move on this from conversation and answer another question real quick. Is
Love
there
you,
an
Sangre. She made all
available
my emotes.
links anime and the Asian American experience? So I'm
Right.
going to answer that real quick. All
So
right.
like,
I'm
the
gonna
question
say-
was, is there something indelible about being Asian American and liking anime or being part of the anime culture, I guess?
Yes and no. So you're gonna get many people with Japanese names. And I will not use this podcast to speak about whether or not that's a bad thing, right? But in every culture, when you are influenced by it, there is always the good and the bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will mostly speak about the good, right? In the good sense, it brings a lot of awareness to the Asian American experience, like, right? But at the same time, they won't ever know what the actual Asian American is. They can only be influenced by it. And it's not like we can blame them entirely for that. And when we talk about how it links between anime and Asian American, right? It really depends how far they take it. If they are going to support anime in terms of, like, say, changing localization, right? Changing a Japanese person's name to an American English one, or a white person, right? That's something that people can freely debate over, not debate. They can truly defend over when it comes to, knowing their anime experience. Like, imagine if, say, Soul Leveling, they changed the official Korean names to Japanese only, right? In every media possible. No, there would be some kind of outrage there, right?
Mhm.
And as an Asian American, I wouldn't want to see any of that either. So basically, my point is that when it comes to linking between anime and Asian American experiences, anime is all just fiction. It will teach you,
Mhm.
it will guide you about what it's like to be within that anime or the setting of the anime's proper culture, right?
Mindset, right?
Exactly what it goes through, but at the same time, it is for the most part entertainment.
Mhm.
You won't know
First
the
and foremost.
nuances. People who say, for example, let's bring back Japan, right? People who want to live in Japan don't realize how, we just talked about how overworked the animators are. People
Yeah.
don't realize how absolutely toxic the culture there is in terms of working. You know,
Mhm.
you are expected to work from say 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. or 12 a.m., right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just something that's just like writing the surface on it.
Yeah.
Korea's population is declining because of how much of a hassle it is just to get in a relationship because of their own personal lives they're trying to get into, right? So if we bring it to the American, in terms of Asian Americans, right? Uh, there's a lot of things that we grew up with that doesn't necessarily have words translate our experiences.
Mhm.
So being able to even somewhat relate, though, in my opinion, it's great. Having anime to relate to us is great, but the second they want to sort of become anime is when there's a problem, you know.
The whole Chilibrio
Yeah.
kind of deal. I get that, Opa. It's a
Chunibyo,
really
yeah.
good point, actually. Like,
Mhm.
'cause that's like you got me thinking there, actually, about that. Cause yeah, it's anime and like any like I guess you could say like 2D Asian entertainment source. Like even like stuff like idol culture, VTuber culture can make Japan or any like part of Asia seem so magical. Like you want to go to
Idealized.
Seoul, you want to go to everything is more fun in the Philippines. But when you really want to get into it, you have to like, you then have to adapt, especially if you never grew up in those countries as an Asian American or as in my case an Asian Canadian. I had to adapt to get used to like how life is in the Philippines. And man, like when you're in the Philippines, it's really like a whole whiplash of like different cultures and also different, I guess you could say, economic settings as well. Going with like Japan, like yes, it's the whole magical land of like anime and pop culture, but very rarely do you ever hear about I don't want to get too into it, but like getting into like adapting to social like social cues in that culture, what is appropriate and what is inappropriate to do in public safety, and like even more than that. um but I feel that on the other side, like anime can also really like take you back on, I guess you could say, a more wholesome, romanticized way of seeing that country. One series that I absolutely love is Lucky Star, and I
Yep.
consider that
I'm sorry.
yeah, I
Yeah.
consider that to be such a fascinating and very nostalgic throwback of like how it must have been like to be an anime fan back in those days. 'Cause some of like like some backgrounds, especially in the opening, were actually influenced by like real life settings in Japan and throughout Japan. You get to see Konata and the girls like actually go to Kyoto and Nara in their school trip. Of course, you get to see the episode where like Konata gets to have the girls experience Comic Cat for the first time, and it makes me like it makes me relate and like makes me think of back then when I was experiencing like Japanese culture and like anime conventions for the first time too.
Oh,
I
I
may not have
see.
like grown up there, but I can relate to that magic that you feel going to a convention or even just like going into the country for the first time.
Retro
So it is
serotonin. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is like very much a double. It's a double-edged sword. I find. Yeah. That's my contribution to that question.
I see. I see.
It's ironic you mentioned that because me and Atra actually had a similar conversation in the group chat about K-pop and all that stuff being Americanized.
Mhm.
Yeah, K-pop's another one. Yeah, that's the other
Oh,
side
yeah.
of this.
Yeah.
How
Mhm.
people suddenly have a very romanticized view of like Korea based on K-pop.
Yes.
Very much so. They don't realize all the dark stuff behind
They
it.
don't
It's,
realize it's called K-drama for a reason. It's actually a I don't want to get too much into it, but there was a reason why I personally for the longest time did not enjoy K-drama, because I felt like K-drama was a reflection of my own personal life growing up. So,
Ooh.
you know, seeing that as a mirror was like,
K-drama.
nah.
I feel like K-drama hits more home to Asian Americans than it would like normal Americans. Just from the few ones I've watched, but they definitely hit home, all right. They don't hold back.
Mhm. Yes, yes,
I have
yes,
a lot.
yes.
I will say, like, if we're talking about idol culture, I have a lot of notes about idol culture and especially VTuber idol culture that we can like go back on later on.
Yeah, we'll definitely
this
get to
episode.
that one.
Definitely.
That's the linkage between like idol culture, purity culture, and VTuber culture.
But like with K-pop specifically, it gets watered down in America. Like you know that new K-pop movie coming out to, I don't know if it's coming out to theaters or if it's coming out to Netflix, I forget.
Oh, the Netflix
The
series.
animated,
Yeah.
the animated one. yes.
Yeah. I was
Uh,
having hope that they wouldn't like goofify it. But after seeing the most recent trailer, I think it's mostly just like everything's happy-go-lucky goofy.
Okay,
Like
so
obviously
that's-
it's kind of
Mhm.
it's kind of dark because from what I've seen, I've only seen the new trailer where they announced the boy group.
I mean,
Hmm.
it looks like
Oh,
Totally Spies,
Demon
but like
Hunters.
K-pop,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
That's
what I was
definitely the vibes I was getting from it.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be
It
very
doesn't
honest.
feel like
Mhm.
When it comes to K-pop, I genuinely believe it's more toxic than idol culture in Japan, right?
Yeah.
I can
just
see that.
because,
I would
that's
agree.
just my own opinion, right? Just based off what I know and whatnot.
Because
I
if you
mean, you're
don't
definitely
really,
not
That
wrong.
too. I have so many notes on that too, on the comparison.
yeah,
K-pop
like,
and,
there's so
idol
many
I mean, there's
K-pop
fans
stars
there's
who,
fans
like,
out there like attacking each other for tickets. So
Mhm.
not only that, like some of the K-pop like stars or like entertainment figures, if you get like a DUI in Korea, like your life is over, basically.
And that's something I'm gonna talk about later when we get to video games. But for the sake of this conversation, it's to the point where you will seem unprofessional if you are knocked out on stage unconscious from exhaustion and starvation if you don't have a mic in your hand.
yeah.
You will be called unprofessional, you will most likely be fired and have the worst time online.
Mhm.
It's
yeah,
to that point.
you're not
Right.
wrong.
So
It
let
is
me-
really strict.
So let me ask you this: as Asian Americans across the board here, how do you feel about like non-Asian Americans getting a very romanticized or idealized view of being Asian based on just purely culture only?
I
Hate
Personally, I think
I
sorry, I'm gonna go-
understand, but
mhm.
mhm.
You know what? It seems like everyone has like pretty deep pockets about this. I'm on the opposite end, so I'll let y'all go first.
Okay. Like, for me personally, I understand when you're growing up in Western society, we are all influenced by the entertainment that we glue our little goggly peepers on. And I get it. It's glossy, it's shiny, and it looks so much fun. Heck, like even like our travel advertisements. for goodness sakes, like it's hashtag it's more fun in the Philippines. but when you land, oh, what are you gonna breathe in? Oh, a lot of pollution, that's for sure. Holy fuck. So have fun with that, I guess. But yeah, like I understand. I understand like where people are coming from when they have those rose tinted glasses. They see the influencers like, you know, you got to try this food source over here in Manila. You got to try the top 3 in Seoul. Look at this Oppa. I found this Oppa. Top 3 brands that you can shop here in Shinjuku, Japan. I get it. It gets people going, and in a way it brings fascination to people who want to learn more beyond the surface level of, you know, social media and what they see on TV. But are they ready is what I wonder, to like delve more deeper into the surface of like, you know, what we go through, and because it's more than just like, you know, entertainment.
Product.
It's a product. It's also like toxic beauty standards, sometimes toxic gender roles too, generational trauma from like colonization as well. It's a whole mishmash of different things from our history and the surroundings that we have in both entertainment as well as mixing in with our heritage and culture that amalgamates into what we want the tourists to see and what we have to keep within our homes, because we don't know if the tourists are ready to see that side. Did I go a little bit too deep? I don't
No,
know.
I don't think
No,
so.
you're
I
fine.
think you made a good point. I think like
Okay, just
by
making sure.
presenting this very fun, idealized view of like the culture, it kind of like whitewashes like a lot of the issues that there may be. I think the primary issue that a lot of Asian Americans face is that people think that we're fine. Like people think that we are the model minority. We don't
Yep.
need any assistance. We don't have any issues. No mental health issues. No poverty. Yada 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 in our communities. And of course, like, you know, the culture that is associated with us is like, you know, K-pop and Bollywood and, you know, all these like happy, bright, fun things, basically. The Hollywood Korean wave. Like, I mean, there are some movies, obviously, coming from Korea that do highlight like income inequality and things like that. Like Squid Game, famously, is a critique of like income inequality. Is that critique getting through? I don't know. But like,
It's getting through, but it's definitely there.
right.
That
But
rich
like
white
by
people.
having this like consumerized like sort of view of like Asian culture as something to be consumed, it does sort of like put our identity in sort of like oh, you're a Korean person, that's cool, and like that's it. Like there isn't really a broader sort of like understanding of who you are as a person or like your lived experience. It's just like,
Yeah, as
oh
an
yeah, you're that
individual.
thing that Psy is.
Well,
Oh,
fuck,
Lord.
Lordy.
Or the
If I
Philippines.
don't
I
say
saw
it.
a video about that once. Like,
Yeah.
Oh man, the amount of times when I would be on boutique duty and all of a sudden my customer would say, "My wife is Filipino."
Dude, yes,
Asian
that would
wife
happen
guy.
to me all the time.
So,
Oh
I hate it,
my
and I hate it every
god.
so
And it's like,
I
that's
understand.
cool. I don't
I
know what else you
understand
want me to say.
y'all. Yeah, I understand y'all gals like probably deal with that a lot more. But can I just say I recently, as a guy, went through that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
You know,
no.
I had
can
a
see that.
customer, you know, come up to me, ask me, you know, he guessed correctly if I'm Korean. I was like, yeah, that's correct, sir. I am indeed a proud Korean. He says, oh, very nice. I have a. He was Italian, so I almost did the Italian accent, but yeah, my wife is a Vietnamese, and I said, oh, cool.
cool.
And then he was
It's always
checking me
like,
out.
what do you want us to say to
Yeah,
it?
exactly.
Like thumbs up, you find us fuckable.
Another occasion I was at, like when I was at boutique duty, like yeah, someone asked me like, oh, like the famous question, what kind of Asian are you? And before I like contributed to just like, just saying like I'm just Asian, I just said like, yeah, I'm Filipino. And the second that they heard that, they're like, adobo, pancit, lumpia,
Start naming
I'm like,
food.
yeah,
Yikes.
can I help
I
you
just-
find a facial cream or something? Like,
I just cringed so
Can you
hard.
imagine they did the French people? They're just like, haha, baguette, escargot.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, to be fair, they do that. They still
I
do
suppose
that.
they probably
People.
do.
I say they as if we know who the they are.
Welcome to This Is
Falmouth.
Me How It Provoked. Yes, exactly.
Oh my god.
It's like people know like 3 things about like an Asian ethnicity, and like
Mhm.
they're just like they have got it in the bank, and this like, oh, you're this one. Well, here you go. This is the 3 things I know.
Yeah.
My experience with this question, like, just recently got upgraded thanks to the new Lilo and Stitch movie.
Oh yeah.
Like, thank you guys so much for that.
I have words about that remake.
It'll be
Because
my
they
time to
changed
shine
it
once
so-
that the Korean one comes out. Or the K-pop
Once
one comes
I,
out.
I didn't think that them changing it so much would start wars on TikTok and Twitter. Like, I was just
Fire.
like,
It's a big change though, right?
It
it
is.
was a
Yeah.
big change, especially
It
especially the ending. I won't say it for people who haven't seen the movie, but literally, if you scroll through TikTok or Twitter and you see it like some picture or something of that's even Stitch related, you will find that one comment where where somebody's saying like return the island to its natives, and then all of a sudden, a bunch of people are fighting, and I'm just sitting here as someone whose family is all majorly in Hawaii, and also whose grandfather went through all that stuff, who lived through all that stuff of Hawaii being sold to America. I just sit here like, oh, we're doing this.
All I'm gonna say is I miss the ice cream man. How are you gonna
Ah.
find an actual native to play a white tourist, but you can't you get a white tourist to play a native? That's all I'm gonna say.
That shit's crazy.
I think why that resonates so hard with people is because, like, while Disney is by no means perfect, when they get it right, they get it really right. And a lot of people saw themselves in that movie in terms of representation. And
I feel like
Yeah.
Mulan wants to have a talk with you.
Well, actually, let's dig into that. Is Mulan good representation?
Yes and no. So if we're talking about the animated film, so I'm not Chinese, obviously, but I more or less grew up with a lot of Chinese people,
Right.
and I'll speak for them, but not keep in mind so I don't get canceled that I'm not 100% correct here. But from my knowledge, the animated film Mulan is very, how do I say, inaccurate, right? There was never, in
it's
the
a
original
Disney
story,
movie.
there was never, yeah, in the original movie, there was never a dragon. What's his name? Mushu? It's been a while. But there was never Mushu in the
Okay.
original Mulan story.
Right.
The whole woman disguising as a man, I believe that part was accurate. But I think the biggest offense to the movie was not the Chinese people, it was to the Huns.
Okay. fair
Many
point.
people, many people who originated from that part of the world have criticized Mulan a lot for making them look like evil, terrible people built on war and destruction, right? Basically going through Genghis Khan era, right? They didn't like that.
Also,
And they-
aren't the Huns from Europe and Mongols or something completely different?
Yes.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was related to it, but I'm glad you brought it up. Yes. I didn't know how to picture that, but
Yeah.
if we're talking about the movie, right? I can sense that Disney actually tried, right? They tried, but oh, did they try so spectacularly wrong. It became less of Chinese representation and more like, how do I say this in the best term possible? strong, independent woman with no personality lead movie.
You know
Right.
what's weirder to me?
I have a
The
very
fact that they
hot
tried to
take.
retcon her into like a Disney princess role when that's not
Oh.
really.
Okay.
Like, yeah, go for it. You take it.
Go,
go.
Sorry, guys. As someone who grew up with this movie, I have a very hot take that I would love to discuss with you guys.
Go for it.
Because I would actually consider Mulan actually the most resourceful out of all the Disney herons. If no, I'm not mentioning the Forbidden Wizard stuff, but I will say that yeah, she was very resourceful. She was very family driven as well, which was her main motivation actually for that movie.
Right.
Which is why as like growing up, even though I wasn't Chinese myself, I still related to her as like one of the few Asian representations in the freaking franchise.
Exactly.
I would agree with Dancho is that like for me personally, like I would consider it very surface level, very aesthetically influenced, but they were very much like other sources that that had to be made to make it more entertaining and more ooh ah for the Western audiences in mind, which is why I personally, going back to Lilo and Stitch, find so much more I feel so much more heart was put into that movie in comparison to Mulan. Reason being was actually again behind the scenes fact. The freaking executives did not really freaking care about this movie. They gave the crew of Lilo and Stitch much more freedom and just sent them all to Florida to just do their thing. And because they sent them off to Florida, they got to do much more than what they wanted to do. And
maybe that's why they had cityscapes instead of mountains at first, because they were in fucking Florida.
Most likely, but I do believe that it was like more based on like the whole Honolulu stuff. But yeah, like things happen. But going back on like things like because they had more freedom to do what they want in the film, they were able to have more and more of the Hawaiian culture being slowly integrated into the film. If you were like a lot of folks tend to point out in video essays that the scenery that was made, you can see the scenery of the village or like in the town that they live in. It's not glossed over. You see the wear and tear of that and it's like lived in. Even the voice actors who voice Nani and David, they actually changed the script to include like Hawaiian slang at the time to make it more accurate and more authentic.
Yes.
Which I find like I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have done that. Like I'm pretty sure, I don't know, I haven't watched the film, but I'm pretty sure they didn't do that for the remake.
A bunch of people in Florida will not make an accurate movie about Hawaii unless they have some creative liberty to like actually like talk to Hawaiians and go to Hawaii and like actually do some research and stuff.
Okay, to be fair about the new movie, I haven't personally seen it yet, but from what I've heard, they actually took a lot of the pigeon out, which kind of hurts me.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it kind of hurts me. They took the pigeon out.
Damn.
What is the point of this remake then? I don't understand.
It hurts me so much because they did really good with a lot of it. Like 90% of it, they did really good with matching it up to the original. But they made two changes, which I will say because they're not spoilers. That they removed Gantu. And then they had to replace him. I won't say who they replaced him with. But those two changes just like messed up everything towards the end there. From what people are like really mad about.
I understood why. I thought one character was actually going to be the antagonist, but when I found out who was the actual antagonist in the remake, I was just like, oh, I guess we're not going to have insert this and this here. Sag, but like going back into like how these how these like sources of entertainment like influence each other, it influence us or like influence other people in Asian American culture. In a way, like those four, like even though they weren't the best and they weren't the most accurate depictions of our culture, I do feel that, like, in a way, we were still thankful with what we got. Because at least, like, it was something. And even then, like, even now, like, with Corpo Disney, like, being Corpo Disney, they still make some sort of effort. Like, you can celebrate Lunar New Year in, like, any of the Disney parks. Even, like, in California, they make the effort to, like, do that. Now, of course, like, we have, like, freaking Moana and all that stuff, and, like, that was like
Speaking-
pretty banger and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think
Speaking of
Moana was
Moana,
Can I
can
say
I
accept
answer-
welcome?
Can I answer a question in the chat? Actually,
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, go for it.
there is a question in the chat about how do we feel about Moana,
Hmm.
and it's really hard. As me personally being an Islander, it's really hard to find any error with it. But that's because they took inspiration from multiple.
Yes.
So they
They
tried.
Yeah.
Like a salad of Polynesian, basically.
Yeah,
Yep.
they literally took They literally took a bunch of Polynesian
Oh.
stuff and put it together.
Yeah,
So it's
Oh,
not
okay.
just one direct Polynesian.
yeah.
Like,
So-
I know in the little documentary they did, they
Mhm.
specifically mentioned Samoa, America, Samoa, and I think the Philippines.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
like native
okay, let me ask you a question
Yeah.
then. How does that make you feel being a salad? Because if say there was a film, yeah, sorry, I didn't know a better way to say that, but let's say for the sake of this conversation, being
Getting
on
called
topic.
a salad is crazy.
Yeah,
In front of your salad.
let me-
Yes.
let me-
How do you feel
let me
about this?
let me direct it to myself, okay?
Yes.
If somebody,
Okay.
if there's a film out there that created a salad of Asian culture, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It would receive big and giant like backlash, no matter how positively, like objectively, let's say the movie was
I'm gonna
great.
counteract you here. That's actually
Mm.
not true, because I can think of one series that actually takes a lot of like different elements from Asian culture and has
I know what you're
massive
gonna say.
critical acclaim, and that series is called Avatar: The Last
Yeah.
Airbender.
Mhm.
Okay, so Avatar: The Last Bender, how do I say? It took,
That is literally a salad of like all the Asian cultures,
yes, and they
which
did
is
it
why the
well
remake
in
was
the,
fucking horrible, because they tried to represent that by making like a
About
Fire
the
Nation all
Avatar.
Indians
That was
or
the
something.
worst of all the remakes.
So here's my counter argument to that, right?
Yeah, go for it.
It's
go for it.
because Avatar: The Last Airbender had a very vast world. There wasn't just one kingdom with
Okay, yeah.
only. It wasn't just one kingdom with like Chinese, Korean, you know, everything just like within one kingdom. They spread it out, which was the greatest part of it. Even each martial art that each style of bending did was from different cultures. That's great in that sense. But actually, let me bring in that remake in mind, and I'm talking about the M. Night Shyamalan and
That's
the
why the
recent
remake sucked, right?
version.
Oh my.
Oh boy.
So here's the thing:
It was pure evil.
just Chinese, all Chinese. That's
Yes.
pretty much the premise of it, right? And,
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that as it's a bad thing, like fuck China. No, like that's great in its own sense. But going back to the relative topic at hand, what I was bringing up, if someone was to create a salad of a culture like that, right, it would receive backlash because it would have been much better if they just focused on a single one rather than combine it two, because there's too much diversity or too much like different aspects within each Asian group to group it up in a salad. I keep saying salad, but
I'm sorry. I
to
ruined
mix
you.
it all
It's
together.
a good
like
way
that.
to explain it, though.
Yes, it's a bad idea to mix all the cultures like that, because even more tolerant older Asian generations will not like that at all, right? But
Yeah.
splitting it up would be fine, like the cartoon does, because you literally go through the journey of Ba Sing Se, which is obviously Chinese influence. You go to the Fire Nation, which is more westernized Asians, right? You go to this and that, and then you have everything there. You have the Samoans, or I'm sorry, if it's Samoans or Pacific Islanders for the waterbenders and whatnot, right? I'm not too well versed in that part, but
They're Inuit.
you know,
Yeah.
my point is like Moana combining all that, right? How does that make you feel combining all those? Like, was it a good thing or was it a bad thing? Because obviously I said it for
It was
the
a bad thing,
Eastern Asians.
honestly.
Mm.
Because of them mixing all of the, they used the Hawaiian language for the most part, like Pua and He'e.
Mm.
So they used, but and they used mostly for like lore and stuff. They used mostly some like a mixture of Hawaiian and Samoan lore.
And like Maori aesthetics.
And-
I caught like some Maori stuff in there
Yeah.
too, I think.
They had a lot of Maori aesthetic.
Which is like thousands of miles away from like Samoa, by the way.
Yeah, it is. But them combining like even though a lot of Samoans are in Hawaii and a lot of the Polynesian cultures kind of combined when you think of like their origins and stuff. Especially if you go into like their I don't know what you would call it, their Polynesian mythology. Yeah,
Mhm.
Polynesian mythology.
Yeah.
A lot of their gods and deities intertwine with each other. But
Mm.
because in the movie they only talked about Maui, and they had all this mishmash paddywhack of Polynesian cultures, a lot of people honestly got a lot of things confused. Because they're thinking like, why so much traveling? This Polynesian island doesn't do a whole lot of traveling, or this and that, or what's up with the crown on that they put on Moana's head, and what's up with the chiefs and all this stuff. Because a lot of cultures do things a lot differently. And even when it comes, a big thing that was kind of messing with me throughout the movie was the tattoos.
Oh.
Because in each Polynesian culture, they have a different way of doing the tattoos. And all the tattoos kind of like tell a story. That's kind of why you'll see a lot of Hawaiians, like they'll get a piece of a sleeve done, and then like years later, they'll get another piece added. It's because it's telling a story throughout the whole sleeve.
Right, it's not aesthetic.
And some will even, and some will even get it done on their back just because it has more space to tell more of a story.
Mm-hmm.
In Maui's case, I think in the actual, like, in his actual lore, he does have all his tattoos for his story. But, the tattoos that were being used were a mixture of all the tattoos from what I could tell. Because, some of the tattoos are more flowing, while others are more like, I think Hawaii's is more like the jagged ones that have a lot of sharp edges. Some are more flowing. They focus more on like waves and stuff. Others focus more on plant life. It's the tattoos were the biggest thing that kind of threw me off, just because they kind of did a mixture. Because Moana's look like typical. In the second movie, hers looked like typical Hawaiian tattoos, but her mom's did not. So it was
there's
kind
just,
of like
inconsistency between, like, you know, the aesthetics. Essentially, I see.
a lot of it was like a lot of the things come down to the aesthetics. The movie itself, once you know that it's kind of like a mix mash paddywhack of all the or as Don Shows likes to call it, a salad of Polynesian culture. It's kind
Whoever you said
of
it first.
Yeah, specifically Donchos.
like once, especially for like people outside of the culture, once they watch that documentary and realize that they took a lot of things from everything, it kind of gets like, wait, now everything's confusing.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
People might
on
feel
one-
they know Polynesian culture, but they don't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I always thought was funny was a lot of people were asking why did they go to both America, Samoa, and Samoa. And it's because the two actually are like super different, especially now.
Okay, I can imagine. I'm sorry, I think
Yeah.
Phyllis wanted to say something.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, while it being inaccurate is definitely a problem in and of itself. It's like one of those things where, you know, yes, would we wish for better representation? Absolutely. But it also kind of gets people asking those questions, which is also
Yes.
like it kind of starts the interest, and then that's when they go digging
Kind of like
deeper
a
into
double-edged sword.
into
Yeah.
digging
Right.
deeper into what
Mhm.
like what it is specifically, and like, oh, like I like this part of it, but that's like from a different culture, and then they start like, you know, learning about that and it like kind of when it comes to like because I watched it with my niece, and then she was just like, oh, like that's really interesting, and like and I was just like, yeah, like, you know, some of it also comes from like Ilocano people and stuff, you know, like I'm not Ilocano, I'm not from that part of the Philippines, but it's cool to see a little bit of it, and then it makes them ask questions, and it sometimes stretches and it's the same thing with Mulan, where it's not a great representation, but it did get people, you know, it kind of put your foot in the door, and it got people interested, it got people asking questions.
Yes, I
It
will
walks
mention
so we
that.
can run later on. Is that
Yes,
good?
yes. I will mention at one point, even though Mushu technically never existed, Chinese dragons have been like sold in huge popularity.
Yeah, you know, I mean,
Mm.
it's in a way, you know, hopefully it's one of those things where, okay, we got our foot in the door, we got people talking, now we can do again, you'd want them to do better off the bat,
Yeah.
but you know, sometimes also getting your foot in the door is still helpful, and as long as people understand that it's not perfect, if you can acknowledge that it's not perfect, it's okay to say like no one's gonna dislike you for liking Mulan or Moana, but you can also say like, hey, I know that this is not a perfect representation of this culture,
Mhm.
but I still like these aspects of it, you know.
Yeah,
I
actually.
definitely wouldn't say I dislike Moana. I do really
Mhm.
like the movie
Mm.
and the
Oh
second
yeah, I
movie.
believe you did say that at the beginning.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I really did like it. But it's just the confusion that kind of messes with me, and the fact that you can definitely tell as that they kind of ran with Hawaii, Samoa, and I'd say what was it again? It just flew my brain. But they kind of just ran with those two, and then took pieces of other ones.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
can-
like it's always it's a good starting point, and like I think this is what's so disappointing about like the Lilo and Stitch like remake, is that you expect them to move forward, not backwards, and sort of
Yes,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Movie just caught me off guard in all sorts of ways. The
Yeah.
advertising looked like the original movie.
'Cause this is
Yeah.
They were
happening.
using the original movie's advertisement, and then the movie came
That's
out, and
Yep,
now
that's
there's
what
World
they
War
want
Z
you to
on my
think.
Twitter.
Yeah, because this is
They want
happening
you
in
to
a
think it's gonna
time
be a 1-for-1 remake.
because we're in a time now where we have like Turning Red and like other children's movies that are actually like showing the Asian American
Yeah.
experience in a good
Yes.
way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So like to see them like
Oh, Turning
backside.
Red was good for it.
Yeah, exactly. So see backside is
That's-
disappointing
mhm.
personally.
Turning
actually,
red.
I
like,
blame
with
the
your-
fact that it's a live action.
Right.
Actually, yes, I kind of agree. But actually, with your permission, Atramentum, I want to kind of like grab everyone's throat and kind of like switch to a related topic to this, right? But different at the same time.
Okay.
But
sure.
like when it
don't
comes
grab the
to
throats too hard then, buddy.
no worries. When it comes to Asian American representation, right? I want to talk about that a little bit, right? When it comes to like social media representation, I think we kind of touched on this a little bit with like the whole Japanese idol or culture thing, right? Or anime
Yeah,
culture
yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
But I want to start off with saying, like, in my opinion, I do feel like sometimes Asian Americans also get a little too butthurt about the way things are represented, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
For example, let's use food, for example, like Panda Express, right? You'll find videos upon videos upon videos between Chinese Americans and actual Chinese immigrants, right? Reacting to Panda Express. How do they react? Can anyone guess?
Oh, I
I
know
can
exactly
imagine
what you're
is
talking
the-
about.
I know which one you're talking
The
about
one
too.
the one Chinese TikToker who pretends to be like an uncle or a dad that has his kid in like school jail learning and stuff.
We're not talking about.
He
Uncle
did this
Roger,
one. No, I don't
Okay.
remember his name. But he, in one of his videos, he sent his kid to go get rice. So his kid went to Panda Express to get rice.
Hmm.
And his kid came back with rice, and he took one bite of it and threw it in the air, and was like, "This is not rice." So I'm guessing similar to that.
The bashing on Panda Express is silly. Panda Express is like the largest Asian American business in the country.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But then my point was, right, how when people think Panda Express, they think of it as as part of Chinese culture. And when Chinese Americans tried it versus Chinese immigrants, 90% of Chinese immigrants, or sorry, 90% of the 90, I am butchering my words, so sorry. 90% of the Chinese Americans were bashing on it, saying how terrible it was, how misrepresentative of their culture it was, how absolutely one of them straight up said, "This is a disgrace to my culture," right? And we could even link that to a Twitter post a very long time ago about how a white student, I believe senior, wanted to use a Chinese dress to their prom wedding, right? And then the reaction was,
Right.
my culture is not your prom dress. Compare that to the Chinese, compare that to the Chinese immigrants. And I say immigrants only in that they just came to America and they weren't born there. They didn't really they're new to American culture, right?
They're Gen Zero, I think.
Yes, Gen 1 or 0. But the Chinese, let's say for better wording, the Gen 1 and 0 Chinese people, they absolutely loved it. They loved Panda Express. They thought, okay, I can see why it's popular. Oh, this is actually pretty tasty. Orange chicken, never had it, but I like it.
Yep.
Right? They had a more positive reception to the food. Compared to a lot of Chinese Americans who had very negative reviews about Panda Express, right? And that
could be considered be like a fast nation as well, because like this is like a different interpretation of their culture.
Exactly.
There's
So
definitely
makes me
some
wonder.
defensiveness, yeah.
Yeah, so it makes me wonder. Like, I understand there is a certain point where first and 0 generation Asian people cannot understand the struggles that we Asian Americans as Gen 1 or 2s grew up with, right? Because we are both siding with American and Asian cultures within our lives. However, sometimes I do feel like backlash is unnecessary. Or it's needed, but also like taken too far is what I
think
was going with.
especially
Yeah.
like a certain type of Asian American online will like overcompensate and be like, no, Panda Express, only white people can possibly like this sort of thing, when that's just like not true. I
so
even
those
have a
are-
story for
Panda
this.
Express?
Like when I was studying in China, like the restaurant next door, it was a Chinese
Shit,
lady
you
who
went to
would
China?
like. Yeah, I studied in China for a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah, I've got lore. I've got plenty of lore.
Wow.
to continue.
Chapters.
International
anime.
student here.
Yeah. I used to speak
Oh.
Mandarin too. I don't speak it anymore, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh
but
shit.
the restaurant next door, it was a lady who like had run a restaurant in America, came back to China, and was cooking like Chinese American food next to like the dorms for the university, and was just making an absolute killing, like serving orange chicken and like General Tso's chicken, basically. Because everyone was like, "Oh, this stuff is delicious," basically. Like people weren't like, like, "Oh, this is American," or this is like a bastardization of our food. They're like, "No, this is fine." It's just like I think that there is like this sort of like reactionary sort of like feeling like, oh, I have to be against this because like I'm less of an Asian person if I like this sort of thing.
And I feel like
Yeah.
it's also like a
Like I
matter of
didn't
like
expect the double Uncle Roger question mark in the chat.
Yeah, cool, Roger.
it's also a matter of like, is this appropriation or is this appreciation? Like, what is
Yes,
your
there's always a
intent?
thin line.
on
I feel like
this?
Asians themselves are always crossing like between which is which.
And well, the thing is,
Yeah.
like
Like,
I
I
just
do-
mentioned too, Pan Express is an Asian American owned company. The founders are Asian
Mm.
Americans. It's the biggest Asian American
Mm.
company in the country.
Yeah.
Oh,
Panda
oh,
Express.
You can't see, but I'm raising my hand, Atra. I actually like just had something
Go
that
for it,
came
Glory.
up about that, like, because what we're talking about, like it can even like be more than just food. It's also like, just other different subcultures in general. Like take me and Dolce for example. We are in the J fashion community. How the Western J fashion community it is so different, or like at least like back in the day it was so different versus like how the Eastern community was, especially when it came to like my side where I'm much more, well, like Dolce is Macchiato, I am more like Lolita and Oji fashion, and my gosh,
Wait, you just called
my
him a macchiato?
gosh. No, no, but
Okay, sorry. I thought that was like a J fashion. I'm like, they call it macchiato? That's cool. My bad.
you're good. But yeah, like, oh my goodness, like the Western community
No, I
back in the
dropped my
day,
phone.
oh no, we like the way that we would gatekeep the sacred integrity of like of Lolita
Oof.
fashion and OG fashion, to the point that like if you dare to like get anything from a Western brand or even hand make your dresses and you don't get it from a Japanese brand,
Okay.
ugh,
Yeah,
Yep.
spit in your face.
yeah.
Absolute
Eh.
shame. And like even during the pandemic when social media and TikTok were becoming more and more of a thing, there was a time that people were actually saying that if you use the word kawaii, that's cultural appropriation. Don't use
Didn't a lot of
kawaii.
Okay, well that's just obnoxious TikTok bullshit. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Didn't a
Absolutely.
lot
And like
of Asians
like
really hate the Avril Lavigne song, where the
no,
Wait.
Hello Kitty song
some
or whatever?
some folks like were actually like perfectly fine with it. They thought it was actually really cute.
I thought there
They
was controversy on it or something.
Apparently there was like it
Something.
was more from what I've been reading, because I was actually reading on that too. It was more of a he said. It's been a kind of like he said she said kind of deal. I've seen posts where like people didn't like it, some posts where like people absolutely loved it and they had no problem. They just thought it was a cute song and it was really nice to see in this case a Canadian or like North American person like talk about their culture. If we're talking about like you know Westerners talking about Asian subcultures, Atra Opa, may I talk about Gwen Stefani?
Yeah, I was just thinking about Harajuku Girls. Yes, go for it.
Yeah. So like for folks who don't know, like yeah, back in the day, Gwen Stefani had like the American artist Gwen Stefani had an era where she had backup dancers called the Harajuku Girls, who were actual like Japanese, or in like some cases there was actually a Japanese American hip hop dancer that would like be a part of her music videos and a part of her shows. How she depicted these girls was in the best way possible to keep this podcast light, was probably not the best way possible. If I can try
It
and
was a
word this
racist
in,
caricature of Japanese people. Like we can call it what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly.
it was
Yeah,
very
okay,
it
I
was very
understand now.
it was very much surface level. And I have been trying to find like sources on like the perspectives of the performers themselves. I have yet to find any sources on how the performers themselves felt when
Okay,
they were
question
a
about
part of the
that then.
group. Hmm.
What about the Harajuku Girls that Disney brings onto the show every now and then? Are those an accurate representation, or
That Disney brings it? Like, was there?
Disney had one Harajuku girl that had like a Sailor Moon theme on Ant Farm, I think it was.
Oh, I don't remember that.
I
I
think
never
seen
I
that.
never
might
watched
be the
Ant Farm.
issue here
so.
too, is that you may bring in like actors from Japan or Korea, whatever, to play like stereotypical things, and they probably won't even care because they're not American. They're not defined by these stereotypes at all. They will go back to Japan or go back to Korea and like have their paycheck essentially. It's just us in the West that will like have been defined by the legacy of that piece of culture, basically.
Yeah.
So they might not
'Cause
even
I know
have a
the
perspective
anime-
on that, you know?
Because I know the anime side of things, a lot of people are freaking out because her outfit was specifically Sailor Moon inspired. So I know they're all freaking out. They're like, "Oh my god, it's so cute, it's perfect. Where can I get one?" Stuff like that. But now that I hear about the Gwen Stefani thing, it made me wonder. I was like, "Huh, wonder
Well,
if
the
there's like."
Harajuku girls thing was a
Exactly.
totally different.
Yeah.
I was just googling it because I don't mean to sound like this, but you're a little young, so you may not remember it.
Nah.
Yeah. You might not have been around at that time.
It was before your time a little
You
bit.
might have been around during the Cuckoo Harajuku era.
Cuckoo, how did? All right, I'm a.
But it was like an
step out real
early
quick. This is
2000s
getting
thing where
too-
she would like basically pretend to be like some kind of like Japanesey person, and would like, use these like Japanese girls as like props basically for
Yeah,
music videos.
and like
Yeah, no, that's
and
there's a
this-
difference between the appreciation of something that's clearly, say, yellow fever, as Atramentum just put it earlier, a racist
Sounded
say it
out.
for me, Atra.
Caricature. There you go.
But yes,
and that's the thing. Like that's the thing. Whenever I bring this up, like I grew up with this era of Gwen Stefani. This was one of the early like ways that I myself have discovered Harajuku fashion. Was it the best source of discovering it? Probably not. Was it the best depiction of like, representation of like Asian culture and especially like Asian pop culture? No. But in a way it did help me actually find like actual resources and got me into learning more, so that way I came to a better understanding of that culture. But yeah, I do wish that like she showed her appreciation for that culture in a more in a better depiction. 'Cause,
I don't know. I just have never
Yeah.
liked Western
Yeah,
people
yes.
using like Asians as props, basically. Whether
Yeah.
we're talking about like yoga instructors in India or we're talking about
Oh!
stars in like
Mhm.
Japan, you know.
yeah, no, there's three different cultures there. There's the Asian culture, there's the Asian American culture, and then there's the American culture. It's like there's no winning side in that degree. That's why I mentioned earlier, where I felt like Asian Americans getting a little too butthurt about anything when it comes to it, because as I mentioned, we were probably very much discriminated against, like no matter what it was. It's like either people didn't know we were the right Asian, they didn't care if we were the right Asian when they said it.
Yep.
Or they didn't know what the fuck Filipino was compared to, say, Korean or Chinese, right?
Ooh,
And I'm pretty sure people
That's me living on the East Coast of America. Everyone's like, "What is Samoan?" And I'm just like,
yeah, and especially
Which is hilarious,
skin
'cause Cootie-
tone.
Like,
No, I know about Cootie, but that also brings in the like skin tone, right? Like, if you're a certain skin tone, then you may or may not look like a specific Asian type. So there's also in that regard where the reason I mentioned this, right, is because there is a certain point where outrage is understandable, expected, and sometimes justified. But
Yeah.
at other times, when a person is like legitimately trying to do their best to represent, even if they might not do it in the best way possible, they did still try. But we, I believe, are too hurt to understand. We want it done the correct way. And in
Yeah.
fact, the problem is there is no correct way at all. Because no matter what, someone somewhere out there is going to get offended, and that's going to bring in similarly minded people, whether they thought the same or not at first, right? So while I understand where we as Asian Americans come from when it comes to being offended, I try to understand the other points. Like, were they trying to just use us as a racist caricature? I still can't say it. Or
You're doing
were
great,
they?
Oppa.
Thank you. Or
Don't
were
worry,
they
I can't say
genuinely
it either.
trying to bring in a certain representation, right? For example, what's her name? Lindsay Sterling, right? She used to be like a big
violinist.
piano. Yes, sorry, not piano, violinist. She used to be a big violinist. I remember when her song Senbon Sakura came out, where she was in she was in Japanese attire, surrounded by sakura flowers, and playing like Asian aesthetically influenced music with her violin.
Mhm.
In my opinion, it's one of the most beautiful violin videos I've seen. Right, I absolutely loved it. But I was very well aware of the people who did not like it. Right, and they weren't even Japanese. They're just other types of Asians who got offended over such presentations.
Yeah,
Right.
see, that's dumb as hell,
So-
though, because if you're mad about
Right.
that, but then you give Uncle Roger a pass for speaking in some ridiculous accent despite being British, like, then you got your priorities wrong.
Say louder,
Yeah.
Atra. Say
Because
it
fucking
louder.
Nigel Ng is not, he's British. He has a British accent. That's a fake accent he puts on, and just because he's Asian doesn't give him the rights to reinforce Asian stereotypes across the board with his stupid ass videos.
Mm.
How
I'd
those in the
say-
chat that are asking about Uncle Roger understand why he didn't get brought back up.
Yeah.
I'd say that it really just depends. I understand why people come from a place of outrage, because I know that
Yeah.
depending on where you grew up in the West, a lot of times, like, you might have been the only Asian kid in your entire school.
Right.
And
Florida.
you could have been
Me.
subject to a lot of really horrible things because of that.
Mhm.
And
Florida.
it kind of and then it
Sorry.
bubbles up, and then it becomes that outrage, which I think is more of like a trauma response that hasn't really been dealt with. And other times I was blessed to have grown up in a part of California where a third of my school was Asian, and
Hell
we were
yeah.
a bunch of different Asians. Like we had a whole, like, part of our football team were like a lot of them were Samoan. We had people from Laos. We had people from we had Chinese. We had Korean. We had Japanese. We had a whole area of the school that they just straight up called Asian Avenue, because we would all just go there and then just hang out and like bond over the fact that all of our parents were strict.
Biggest opportunity to
Oh my
call out
God.
the night market, by the way.
Like I got cheated out of a childhood. I was the only Asian kid.
Yeah, no, it became like this really cool thing, and it wasn't until I had tried out living on the East Coast and tried living in different states across America that I realized that a lot of people's experiences were a lot different, and
Mhm.
that's why they get so outraged, and that's why they start off from a place of anger because that's how they were treated. And I again, it's not a great response, and it's a response I wish was different, but in a way I kind of understand where that comes from.
You're 100% correct.
I
And
personally
I understand, right? Where they're, sorry.
No,
I
no.
understand where they come from. I'm not saying like fucking forget about your trauma, like get over it. Right? I'm
No,
not saying that.
yeah. I think it takes a little bit of self-awareness that they need.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
It's
because
just
like,
like-
it's the whole point of this episode. It is the Asian cool wave. Like, it's the fact that Asianness has become cool, and like what that sort of entails, and like whether we turn into gatekeepers or if we sort of ride that wave with them and be like, oh yeah, well, Asian's
Yeah.
cool. Like, cool, we'll enjoy it with you, basically.
It
Yeah,
was-
my point, or
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
another point I wanted to make is just like, at what point do we allow this sort of like outrage culture, right? And I'm not saying Asians are the only ones who do it, right? Like, there's all sorts of cultures that will obviously get mad at America, but at the same time, it's like, how often will we say like we want better representation? They give us better representation, but we say, no, that sucks.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Doncho. I think Asian American outrage culture is impotent and doesn't really get heard. It's just
Oh
like,
no, that's a whole different conversation.
it's
Atra.
just storm in a teapot.
Different conversation for a different podcast.
Yeah.
No,
don't get me
but like
started on
you can say people get mad about it,
COVID-19.
but nobody gives a shit if they get mad about it. Like that's the whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
How do I say? It's like, It's a yes and no, right?
Yeah.
We will be heard for a day.
Yeah, I mean that's the
Yeah.
point, right? You can't,
Aw.
you will not be able to affect any sort of change at getting mad at this anyway. So what's the point getting mad
Mm.
about it? You know?
Yeah, then there is that point too, right? Where how much is like allowed, right? How much is allowed to be given this sort of like representation? Because whenever someone asked me before, like, why do I get so happy if I see a Korean character in a video game, a show, or even as another VTuber, right? I'm just
Mhm.
like, I mean, dude, I didn't grow up with many like Koreans, so I love seeing other Koreans. And thing
You
is,
guys
like,
know the new. You guys know the new Voltron.
what about the new
Is it new
Voltron?
Voltron?
I lost. Well, it's not new anymore, but the Legendary Defender one.
Okay, that one. Okay.
I lost my
Mhm.
ever loving mind when I found out Hunk was Samoan. I was like, huh? What? I was
Yeah, yeah,
screaming.
yeah.
I was jumping.
Yeah, so that's actually a great point to prove too. Like, we love representation, right? Like
Mhm.
when there was that movie, Rich Crazy Asians, bro.
Okay,
the amount
Crazy
of
Rich Asians,
people,
yeah.
Yeah, Rich Crazy Asians, or what's
Crazy
wait,
Rich
what was it
Asians.
again?
Crazy Rich
Crazy
Asians.
Rich Asians.
I
Okay.
thought that was a TV show.
It was a movie.
It was a book.
It's
It was
a
a
book
book, and then
first,
it
then
got
it's been a
turned
movie.
into a movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, people didn't know about the
Singaporean
book
representation.
first. Oh, I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, it's
But-
Singapore.
Right. My point is like when the
Oh.
movie was first named, right, as a movie, people online were bashing it. Right. They were not even giving it a chance. Like, what the fuck is this?
Well,
Right.
if they're fucking stupid because it was a book first.
Yeah. Well, let's assume they didn't know about the book,
Okay.
right?
Or parent.
But let's
I
say
think
they only saw it
a
on
lot
a
of people
trailer
do that.
movie, like for example, Harry Potter. But that's a different subject. Sorry. But my point is that when Crazy Rich Asians came along, the name itself got a lot of people mad, right? Why are we saying Crazy Rich Asians? Why are we stereotyping Asians to be the minority, the whole like we're all rich, we're all successful, all study well type bullshit? But when the movie came out, it subverted expectations. Sure, there's still some people who would think this and that about the culture, but in my opinion, I do think that it was a good movie that kind of changed a little mindsets with like how things should be represented, right? People might disagree with me, but for the most part, I think my point was that representation, we love it. You know?
Yeah. I mean,
Especially when that representation is coming from a source from someone in that community too.
Authenticity. Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
Hell, like when I found out that Mark from Invincible is half Korean, I was like, oh my fucking god. I saw
My
mean,
God.
it's
Well, I'm not sure
honestly-
about that one because I think it might be a fucked up
If
reason that his wife is Asian, but
if we're talking about like representation, like yo man, the amount of like the enthusiasm when Filipinos like find out like
yeah.
yeah.
slightest bit
Filipino
like
spotted.
that one person is like 1/18th Filipino. Ay! Philippines!
Da, 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 da,
See-
da, da,
see-
da, da.
Yeah, see how happy we are talking about this, right? Like the fact that we remember great memories of being represented well.
Even if it's just in passing or even just like a little minor character, like
Yeah, like when I
Let's
saw the
say-
fucking Korean word for hello on Invincible, I was like, oh my god, that's fucking Korean. I slammed my
Have you
desk.
guys seen
I will
that's
say,
effing Korean.
I think the first Samoan thing I saw on TV and stuff was actually from the Lilo and Stitch TV series. When
Hmm.
people were asking why Gontu is so big, and his response was, "I'm from Samoa."
Samoa.
Yeah,
Samoa
yeah.
Damn.
I was like, "Wait, that's accurate, though. Wait a second, I
They
liked
are
that."
rather big, some stereotypes are true for a reason,
when the stuff that you grew up with finally resurfaces, which actually brings us to like I think that actually brings us to another question that you had for us, right, Atra?
yeah, I just have questions all over the place.
We've been just jumping
Just
between.
jumping
like,
around.
you
It's all-
don't
it's
even
fine,
have to
though.
ask. Like
Yeah,
Atra,
okay,
you don't
ask
even
him,
have
yeah.
to ask at this point. Like,
Yeah.
Feel free to rein us in, though. We're used to
Yeah,
that.
it's fine. We're fine. Although I'll take this moment here because we just hit the 2-hour mark. So, chat, if you have any questions for our panel, make sure that you get them in. This podcast generally is 2 to 2.5 hours long, so we'll probably go for another 30-ish minutes. So just keep that in mind. And I'm going to maybe for some of these questions actually. So let's talk a bit more about sort of the your childhoods.
Yeah.
So Dolce did touch on this, but I did want to ask all of you this question. And it was, did you grow up in an area that was majority Asian? If you did or did not, how would you say that affected your worldview and sense of identity as well, and the way you relate to your Asian identity?
I definitely have an answer for this one. Oh boy.
Wait, where's this fucking question?
It's
Second,
like,
second question.
second question, yeah. Because like I do feel that I was a little bit lucky growing up because on my side of Maple Land, like I was just surrounded by like all sorts of Asian cultures, and that it's more than just like Eastern cultures too. When I grew up, like in my elementary school, I had everybody from all ends of Asia, from like India to even like Middle Eastern, Pakistani. I was exposed to so many Eastern cultures that like it really like widened my like my knowledge of like people and all, and definitely widened my palate for like different foods to try as well. That was one of my favorite things growing up, just having to like experience my friends' culture through food, through all the cultural festivals too that our school really encouraged. My high school was like definitely like much more of like an Asian population, so um I do feel that like I felt very lucky
Yeah, same.
having that.
My high
So
school
when I
was
grew up,
70% Asian.
yeah, so when I grew up more and more, like and even like just like traveling more as well, like to different areas, both in Canada as well as in the United States, it's just like I've come to realize that like yeah, there like, just like what I think it was like what Dolce mentioned, that like yeah, there's folks like have different exposures to like different cultures, and like yeah, especially like different Asian cultures as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you see it here
A
in New York.
question
Like
for everybody.
Asians from like Long Island are different from like Asians like from like the 5 boroughs in New York City, just because of like the different type of people that you live around, basically. Like because like if you're from like the suburbs, like you're just around more white folks, and like you're the way you sort of talk, act, and like who you hang out with is different than if you're from the city, where you're around like more like recent immigrants, or your high school might be majority minority, for example. So like it's stuff that I've seen just personally, and then like I can imagine it changes dramatically when you're like in a rural area, for example, or like you're like from like the Midwest or Florida or something. You're the only Asian.
Yeah.
Call me out, why don't you?
Yeah, I'm calling you out, Ali.
Yeah, I am in Florida, and I swear I'm the only Asian sometimes.
The last Samoan.
For real, that's what it feels
Samoan
like.
would hit hard though. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's not so overtly, how do I say, not racist, but it's not such an overtly tropish kind of thing. Like saying the last Asian is like but saying the last Samoan, there's something there. There's something I feel like could strike gold.
One of them is
I'm listening
generalization.
to
One
everybody's
specific.
stories. I'm listening to everybody's stories, and I'm just over here like I got cheated out of a childhood.
It's a very different
Ellie.
experience when you, because like I said, I moved to a place like in my adulthood that was, Asian people are pretty rare, and I didn't realize how much I missed just hearing people speaking Tagalog on public transit until I came back to visit Cali, and I was just like, wow, that's something that I didn't realize I even missed, let alone like noticed. Oh, sorry, guys.
You made me think of like when you were like moving from different areas. When I was growing up, I was moving from like different fandoms and communities, and one of the communities that I joined was the LARP community.
Nice.
And my LARP community, Yeah, I was very much like, North American, like Western culture. So I was
I am
very
Watashi
like that.
Subaru.
That was the time. Like I think like that phase in my life. That was when I felt like I was one of only like one of the very few Asians. I think like my entire time when I was LARPing, like I was one of one of 4 Asians that were in our LARP game out of the average 100 to 300 players that would often come over
crazy.
on a regular
Wow,
basis.
a lot of people.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it was a big,
And
it was very much a
how
big
often were
game.
you picked first?
In terms,
You're the shiny Pokemon of the group.
in terms of like LARP games, I think I was considered like the special one because they're the more combat ones. They're gonna be the more artistic players because all Asians are artistic and they probably know more about like, they know about anime, so they probably know about combat and stuff like that.
You were the fucking you were the shiny Pikachu.
Probably, yeah.
Do say compared to a lot of people, a lot of Asians that grow up here in Florida, I will say I was probably one of the luckier ones because my grandma, because when my mom had me, her siblings' kids were having kids. So my grandma actually came from Hawaii to help raise me. And she actually did like keep me into culture as best as she could. It especially helped because my grandma spoke broken English, so I could pick up on a few words here and there. But honestly, it felt so lonely.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
I am so
Like I went to a private school, and it was the definition of like your stereotypical all-white private school.
That was going to be my second question, actually, because I know you're also African American. I was going to ask if there were any black kids there either.
There was like 2 or 3 black kids, maybe.
Oh, you poor thing.
No.
So, and I think, and it was 2 of them were in my class in kindergarten. So we kind of just ended up sticking together. But if it wasn't for my grandma, I probably would have lost a lot of my culture. Not going to lie. But after she passed away, I was kind of lost again. Because I was in middle school. I was in that phase where you're trying to like figure out who you are and stuff. And I'm surrounded by everybody that's not me. A lot of the kids were always be curious and stuff about like, because they could tell, especially when my mom came to pick me up, that I definitely wasn't mixed with white. But they all knew I was mixed with something that was like, as they described it, exotic. So they were all curious. So naturally they would ask me, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm mixed with Samoan." And back then I had the habit of saying it like how most people in the islands would say it, like Samoan. And they would be, and some that had like military parents would correct me on how I'm pronouncing it, and I just kind of looked at them like, "What? What?
Bruh.
How are you correcting me?"
Not the glasses pushing up, like, actually.
And then like other
Actually, it's Samoan. The Rock is Samoan. I know Samoan people.
It's like Samoan's correct too. It's just not, how it's usually pronounced there. So it's like,
Right, like Hawaii and Hawaii.
Yeah. A lot of
Arkansas.
Hawaiians actually don't say the W, funny enough, because of their accent, so it comes out Hawaii.
Oh, I've heard that actually.
Yeah.
I
Their
completely
accents
thought
that
they were
they've-
talking
they're-
about a different country. Or a different state.
I think it's because my mom
That's the
described
country that
like their
Moana's from.
accents can't like.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry.
I had to
Well,
think
that's
how she
canonized
said.
everybody.
I had to think of how she said Montanui for a minute in my head. I was like, "Is she?" And I was like, "I don't know. It's hard to tell." She was voice acted by a Hawaiian though, so. But I remember the kids would there would be like 3 different types when it came to the question. They would either try to correct my pronunciation, which always caught me off guard. They would either ask me what's Samoa, and I'd be like, I'd also not know how to answer the question because I'd be, it's a country, and they're just like, what? And I'm like, what more do you want me to say? And then they'd and then there's
it's a territory.
Well, yeah, you're right. Kind of depends on which Samoa you're talking about, I guess.
One, Atra 1, Alley 0.
Yeah, I had to think about that because I was like, oh, it depends on which one you're talking about, actually.
I'm just playing Alley.
I will say, Ali.
But more people consider American Samoa a territory, and they say actual Samoa is the country. So
Yeah.
you're not wrong. It just made me do a double take because I was like,
No,
oh,
I'm the
yeah,
best kind of
is
correct,
too.
technically correct.
Just go like, huh?
But and then there's the last ones which drive me insane, and they'll be like, oh, so you're exotic, you should be like really smart and stuff, or like really special, or like, hey, you should date me because exotic plus me equals whatever. And I'm just like,
Ooh, with the fetishizing mixed
Oh,
race people.
I don't
kind of
like that.
That's the kind of quote unquote Asian is cool that I will like. No.
Yeah, vehemently fight.
It happened a lot in middle school and high school. And I remember even then, after high school, I would be out with my mom, and my mom, even though she wore like more Floridian clothes, like the beachwear and stuff, she would still have that look of she's mixed with something. She's not from here. So a lot of people would assume she's from California. I don't know what the correlation is from. But whenever me and my mom would go out...
That's where all the exotics are from. The exotics, the imports from California.
So, yeah. I'm just gonna no comment there real quick.
I'm gonna
I
try to
guess
get
there is a correlation.
I'm gonna try to guess
Now
some
that I
of these other
think about
questions,
it.
though.
But I remember there's this one time me and my mom were going to the grocery store, and this guy walks up to us and he's like, I know you two are not from here. So where are you from? And he's already like trying to hit up my mom. And I'm just like rolling my eyes and stuff. And I'm like, right here. And she's like, yeah, no, we're not from here. We're from the West Coast. And my mom's just like avoiding the question. And he instantly goes, you and your friend can always come over and have a good time with me. And I'm over here like, bleh!
Jesus Christ.
Bleh!
Some people
Gross.
discover shame.
And my mom's like, my mom's like, that's not my friend, that's my daughter. And he's like, oh, so you like it on the dark side? And I'm just like, I'm gonna walk away.
Look at the audacity.
He's like,
of
goodbye.
people. I swear to G.
And then there was this one guy who, as soon as he found out I was mixed with Samoan, instantly started shoving his son in my face, and I was just like, huh?
See, folks, this is the kind of like quote unquote.
It was very...
Asian is so cool that I don't like. That we don't like. Like,
I mean,
when
that's like
you
a
say
step
Asian-
further. It's fetishization, isn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was
Diva.
very weird.
For more of the
Because
by the
fetishization
way-
topic, check out episode 2 of series 2.
yeah.
Yeah,
It was
trying to
very
recall
weird
that
because
episode.
growing up, most people would be like, because especially in kindergarten, because my mom would cook my foods for lunch and stuff instead of like sending me to school with normal food or whatever they would call it.
American food.
A lot of people would be like, ew, gross, stinky food, or go along that lines. And then as I got older and the questions started happening, the fetishization of it didn't really hit until high school. And it didn't really kick in until I graduated high school. So I'm kind of over here just like, yeah, I hate everything about this. And it wasn't until my mom took me, there was an Asian culture event that was happening underneath a highway path thing. And when I went to it, I felt like me. It was awesome.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
I got to see like all the cultures and stuff. I got to try like all the foods, and my mom would introduce me to a few people and their different types of foods, their outfits, the jewelry, what the meaning of the jewelry was. That's when I really started falling in love with it.
Having it under a
I
highway is very Florida coded. But
I don't know what's with Florida and highways, man. They always have like the best events under a highway, and I would never understand why.
sorry,
It
Lori,
is
you were
really-
saying?
I was gonna say, like, it is really nice to, like, yeah, like, even though, like it is, again, another double-edged sword. Like, we grew up with, like, our culture and our cuisine. Back in the day, there might have been some folks that, like, were very much, like, opposed to it. And now, guess what's trending now? Asian night markets.
Mhm.
We
That
have
is-
how many?
Trending. Is that
It is
seriously
fun.
trending right now?
Well, like, at
Yeah,
least on my
that's
on my side of, like, Maple Land, we have so, like, because again, on my side of Maple Land, we have a huge Asian population, and nowadays we have almost like we practically almost have like Asian food markets and night markets almost all season, even if it is like freaking minus freaking 40 degrees. We're still gonna have our Asian night markets and have a good time just experiencing each other's cultures and eating each other's food.
That's better than
It's-
140 degrees, honestly.
Yeah, that's true. It's fascinating that, like, yeah, like growing up, like, you might have been like made fun of for like, what you ate and what you wear and the language that you spoke. But nowadays there are folks who are like literally having Jollibee mukbangs. Freaking mukbangs are now like, a thing. People are vlogging their trips to Asia, learning our languages and learning about our culture because they find it fascinating, they find it trending, they're engaging with our pop culture as well because it's only now that you guys think that the stuff that we grew up with, that we already knew, that we already were passionate about is cool to you. Like,
Oh, so I just looked up on Twitter what on my trending is, and my trending it actually shows the Jason Momoa movie that's coming out about
it's a sign.
Hawaii's past.
Oh,
It's a sign.
I did not know there was a movie coming out like that.
It is unfortunately Apple TV locked.
Oh god, Apple
Ah.
TV is the fuck.
All right, now I lost interest.
That's what I say. That's why it's not doing so well numbers wise on who knows about it.
I'm not even. I was
Shame.
gonna start ranting about Apple TV and MLB baseball, but we're gonna move on actually.
Yeah,
we have a
actually,
question.
I'm metaphorically raising my hand. Fallon made a pretty good point about elitists because
Yes, I was gonna get to that.
I was gonna say
Mm.
that another thing that Ali mentioned about, like, growing up with her culture and with her family. I find that, like, that's really, like, fortunate of you to do that because I find that some folks, like, especially some Asian Americans, they might have not, like, grown up with it, or they might have been assimilated at an early age. I myself have never fully learned Tagalog, or in my case, like, Ilocano, because my family is from Baguio. I never got to learn those languages. And whenever, like, other Filipinos ask me, "Oh, do you speak Tagalog?" Like, "Oh, no, I don't really understand it that much." I always get the, "Ay, sus." Shit.
Yup,
Because
dude.
my
And
grandma
I'm-
broke
Question mark on
and
my
I'm-
head.
I very
Yeah,
much
and
so understand
Yeah, and-
very broken Samoan and Hawaiian.
Yeah, and I'm considered, like, and because of that, like, some folks are considered less Filipino or, like, less of their heritage just because they didn't grow up learning their language. And it does suck. Like, you want to keep that part of your culture, like, lasting longer because you don't want that language to be lost, especially if it is something like, the Pacific Islanders, whose culture is literally dying, and we have to make the effort to, like, help, like, to preserve that culture as much as we can.
And sort of
Yeah,
to address the
mentioned that.
question in chat too, I think there is also a within like sort of the generations of Asian Americans. So I always like conceptualize, like, obviously there were Asian Americans before 1960, but the big wave of immigration was after the 1965 Immigration Act. So there was like the wave of like Asian American boomers, and then their kids, the Generation X, like Asian Americans. These are the ones that have the most anxiety about being American. Like, they're the ones who have the think pieces about stinky lunches and assimilating and yada yada yada. And they're the ones who like feel the worst about being Asian. Like,
Yeah.
all those like books and like movies in the 80s and 90s about feeling so anxious about being Asian, like the Joy Luck Club and yada yada. That's that generation. And now you've got like this newer generation of Asians that are like more secure, wealthier. Like, you see kids coming here from China that have like money and like they're doing pretty well and they're confident. And if you like look at the things they write about like those kids, like they're just like perplexed. Like, why are these kids so confident? Like, why are these kids like so like why are they so as anxious as I am about being Asian? Like, how dare they not be like so like anxiety ridden about being like Asian American? It's like, well, you know, it's your own problem that you sort of like grew up that way and that you want people to suffer like you did. But like, the fact of the matter is, you don't have to be this one cookie cutter like American type person anymore. And I think that's kind of where that sort of division comes from, this elitism sort of thing. It's like there used to be this one pathway to be like a good proper Asian American, and like that's kind of like flown out the window now that like Asia's become a lot more wealthier and prosperous, and you don't have to, you know, come here and prove your Americanness. You can be Korean and American. You can be more Korean than American. You know, you can be mostly Chinese, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I'd say it really, a lot of our experiences really shape how we approach it. I've met Gen X Generation 1s that, you know, have a lot of anxiety about it, and there are others that are like, I'm glad that my kids do not have to grow up that way.
Yes,
And
exactly.
you know, and they kind of meet it with this sort of like, you know, it sucks that I had to go through this, but I'm glad that, you know, it's become more popular and more normalized to the point where they don't really, people are actually like interested in what you're eating, and they're just like, yeah, dude, that's cool. And I mean, again, it depends on where you're at. I'd say if you're on like the populated coasts, that's definitely like the it gets there a lot faster than like maybe the Midwest or the South.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to food, oddly enough, we have a lot of Asian food places here.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
like, I was in Columbus, Ohio. There's Korean food, there's Japanese food, there's Thai food. You can get any kind of Asian food out there. People have adventurous palates. People don't give American eaters enough credit, honestly.
Well, we're trying to depend on some American credit, some American.
I got two things to say, and one of them actually goes to what Atra was answering in chat. I don't know if this is true or not because I read it on Reddit, so take what I say with a grain of salt. And also, I'm not Korean, so I wouldn't know anyways.
No.
But there was a story on Reddit about this girl who was adopted from Korea, and she was and when she was adopted, her parents didn't want her to lose her heritage, so they had her, you know, keep up with the Korean language. And when she was in high school, she went to a pretty, you know, Korean-based high school. So when she was in high school, one of her classes had a Korean teacher, and the whole classroom was Korean students. I don't know if this school was specifically just for Koreans, but it was majorly Korean-based from what I could tell from the story. And the Korean teacher would say like really rude things about her in Korean, like how kids from Korea shouldn't be adopted, and how they're just ruining the Korean name because she assumed that she couldn't speak Korean because she was adopted. And the other students, also assuming with the teacher that she couldn't speak Korean, would speak Korean behind her back, you know, saying rude things. I'm not going to repeat any of the things because I don't know if they're slurs. But they would say, they would call her some really rude things. And eventually she got fed up with it and she spoke in Korean back to them. And everyone's jaw kind of dropped. And then she kind of just walked away because she had been secretly recording them and all that stuff so she could get the teacher fired. And it did work. But is that actually a viewpoint that some Koreans have, that adoption shouldn't be a thing like that?
We kind of covered this in episode 2. The controversy about Korean adoptions. The issue really is that, so just to give it the 1 minute blurb, that after the war ended, there was a lot of orphans in Korea, and there's a lot of mixed race children from American GIs and Korean women. And as a way to sort of get those kids out of Korea, they were sort of farmed out to American couples, basically. The problem was American couples had this enormous thirst for adoptable kids, basically. So after they got rid of all the mixed race kids and orphans, they started going to the single moms and being like, okay, you got to give your kid up for adoption, basically. And so it turned out, after the course of a couple of decades, almost a couple thousand, probably up to about 100,000 Korean children were taken from Korea under less than reputable circumstances and adopted out, basically, to Western couples. And that's the controversy, basically. So it's a little bit of everything, basically. Yeah.
And then the second thing I wanted to say was another video. This one was a video on TikTok, actually. There was this barber who was doing the hair of a Samoan kid. And they were talking about how he was getting bullied and stuff. So he was going to do his hair for free and all this stuff and yada yada. And I thought it was going to be a nice, cute little video. I was pretty upset by the end of it. I'm not gonna lie. They westernized him really hard. They put.
I imagine he probably had long hair or something. They cut it off.
He had long hair, yeah. And they cut it really short to be in that fancy swoopy hairstyle, whatever it's called.
The current.
And then they
trend
They gave him a shape up.
Yeah. And then they gave him a shave up. They shaved his face, and they put makeup on his face, and they very much so westernized him. And I was like, wait, you took his culture away.
In that situation, I think it really, and a lot of those kinds of things, it depends on how the person feels.
Yeah.
If the kid got his hair cut and he was like, wow, I like this, then you know what? Fashion, culture aside, the way that something makes you feel is more important as an individual. You can try and keep your culture as much as you want.
Show his reaction at the end.
Yeah, I would say again.
So I'm not 100% sure. If he liked it, then I'm not gonna be one.
This is something that I really grew up around, because I grew up in a neighborhood that had a lot of religiously faithful Sikh people. These are the Indians that have turbans and beards, and in their faith, they're not allowed to cut their hair. But a lot of the young boys, they wanted to be Americanized, so their fathers gave them a choice. Hey, do you want to cut your hair? Do you want to stop wearing the turban? Because, obviously after 9/11, there was a lot of these young guys were like, I don't want to wear this. I don't want to look foreign, whatever it is. So a lot of the boys in my class, they would actually go get haircuts, and they would,
Majorly upsets me about that is that some kids feel like they have to throw their culture away to feel safe or to feel accepted in their situation.
The thing is, though, I will say, as I still kept keeping contact with them, even though they don't religiously keep up with those tenets of the faith anymore, they're still part of the community. And I think that's kind of the important thing, is that even though they're not wearing the turbans, they're not keeping the shaving their faces, they're not they're cutting their hair, they're still part of the Gurudwara. They still go to the temple, and they're still participating in the community. So it's as Dolce says, it really does come down to an individual choice, because the culture does change when you're in America. It's very hard to keep up your original culture, the aesthetics of it, in a place where it's not the dominant culture. I do very much sympathize with that. Speaking as somebody who has an Indian name but uses an English name on a day-to-day basis, for example.
Does the same thing. I never understood why, but until I got older.
So
Yeah.
let me just say this on a good or on a funnier note, right?
Mhm.
So, yes, I had hair back then, right? And
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
my mother,
shiny.
my mother is for as long as I lived, she's a cosmetologist. Some of my community might know this, but she was a cosmetologist for as long as I can remember. I imagine when it turns out her ex-husband, my brother, and myself all gotten bald.
Oh, no.
but the reason I bring this up is I do recall several times she's tried to convert my hair into traditional Korean, right? Like whatever
Yeah.
was trending in Korea, South Korea, she would try to
Okay.
mimic it on me. The very wavy curly hair like you see certain K-pop idols like Big Bang do, right?
Yeah.
Back when Big Bang was the big thing.
Yeah.
You would see sometimes some
Back in the
Oops,
You
our age is
see-
showing.
first generation K-pop,
Hey,
anyone?
hey, my mother still loves Big Bang. Don't you talk shit about him.
I mean,
But-
I'm just
I
mentally
still slap
putting,
that
like,
shit in my
fucking
car too.
punch perm on your head
You were
right now.
saying
Yeah, but at other times, she would also put highlights in my head, and guess what? I both loved and hated it every single time, only because the fucking thing burned my hair or it burned my scalp.
Yeah,
but,
now we know where your
Yeah,
hair fell
that's-
out.
yeah.
no, it fell
Yeah,
out due to
that's a big
stress.
one right there.
But it's like everyone's been saying, I've been on both receiving ends of both the loving and hating part of it. I absolutely hated the highlights, but when I got to see that I looked like G Dragon, I was like absolutely aesthetic as a
There's a
kid.
name
I
I
was
haven't
like,
heard
oh
in a
my
while.
god. Yeah, let me look like this because I'm not gonna lie, he's a good looking ass dude even now, right? He's a good looking dude. And back then when he was younger, I was just like, oh my god, my mom likes G Dragon, I look like G Dragon. Oh my god, I'm gonna be G Dragon,
Just googling how old G Dragon is now.
Become
But,
I know this is going to
you know,
sound really weird because most people have the opposite opinion, but I have a similar thing. My mom actually got my hair like permed a lot as a kid,
Mhm.
because like parents of most mixed kids, you don't know how to do their hair. So my mom got my hair permed a lot, and I'm actually really happy she did because I stopped getting the perms like I don't know years ago. But now my hair, honestly, it doesn't curl up, obviously, because I stopped getting the perm. I mean, it doesn't go straight because I stopped getting the perms. But now it curls up, and it's kind of like more naturally closer to the Polynesian aesthetic. And honestly, I really like that because I am closer to my Samoan side than I am with my African American side. So seeing it kind of being more closer to that, I honestly really do like. So albeit I hated the perms with all my heart because they burned,
Yeah.
but the outcome kind of made me go, ooh, I like it.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
discovered something. Can I just say, because just to kind of both relate to what we're all talking about in terms of Asian beauty standards, as well as the main topic that we have at hand.
Mhm.
The amalgamation of both of choosing between assimilation and embracing who you are, both aesthetically, I guess you could say physically, and how you are culturally as well. I feel that we are so lucky as VTubers because we now have we now have the freedom to be so creative with our models that we have
Off.
the freedom to just depict and freely show our heritage and culture however ways that we want to. In I mean, I think it's shown all throughout this series. Everybody, I'm pretty sure everybody that you have invited Atra has had some sort of reference of where they have embraced their culture. I know for a fact that everybody in this room right now, from from right down to our names to our embracing our natural skin, subtle references to our attire as well. We have that creativity in this community to showcase like who we are as people and like where we come from. And I find that's like such a nice privilege to have, I guess you could say.
I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
that
lie, that
is-
made me a little bit teary-eyed.
No, that's a
Aw.
wonderful way to tie it together, honestly.
'Cause that's
so many
how
of
I
us,
felt like.
Yeah.
You were saying?
many-
Yeah, you start. You go on.
so many of us
Asha.
are able to sort of bring that cultural element into VTubing, whether it's Dancho being a Korean tiger, Squee Queen who we had earlier, who incorporates part of the Philippine sun into her design as well. All these like wonderful things. Hime Sinda, who is a Managagal. I butchered that.
Oh,
Manananggal.
Manananggal.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. But yeah, so like those things, like it really does give people the ability to connect with those cultural elements and to share them with our audiences, and that's one way in which that VTubing is fantastic as a medium, honestly.
It gives like very nice little wink wonks. I know of definitely like my design has definitely like gotten
Oh,
people
yeah.
curious actually. If you don't mind, like Atra, like if we want to do like a little bit of an exercise just to like kind of like just showcase like what we like about because I as if people don't know, I very much love VTuber designs.
Me looking
And I
over at
love-
Astra so excitedly, like, can we please?
Can we do a little exercise? I'm pointing my fingers together. Can we do a little
Okay,
exercise?
tell you what, because I don't
Like,
want to keep you guys for too
I
much
like-
longer. Let's go ahead and do that. I'll ask one more question we can wrap up. Okay? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yay.
good.
Take it away, Lori.
So I want to know, like what have you guys incorporated from your culture, like into your designs or into like who you are as a VTuber, like into your, whether it's your content, or or your design, or just like anything during your VTuber career.
So I think I'm gonna step right out. I think I don't belong here.
Yeah.
There might be
That's
some new,
crazy.
there might be some new viewers who are like meeting us for the first time, and like maybe like you just want to do a little bit of a like show and tell to like show a little bit of your cultural pride.
Yeah, go ahead, Dancho.
Okay, so on a side note, I designed my design based on the idea that I don't want to appear Korean.
Valid.
That's valid.
When I started, and it's not because I was ashamed or I didn't want like this and that. No, it's just purely because of privacy reasons. I did not want people to find out what I am at all, right? But as VTubers do, they corrupted me. But but it is interesting that I did find out more about myself through VTuber designs and whatnot. For example, my Korean name that I will not share does actually mean the golden tiger. It was something that was completely, how do I say, I was unaware of until after I got the design. And thank God, because it would have been awkward if my name meant silver tiger. But but it was through learning that, in fact, other influences people, how do I say, it was through other influences of other Asian, or sorry, not even Asian, just VTuber designs in general that incorporated a lot of their culture and heritage, right? Even those who weren't Asian that incorporated Asian influences into their design, right? Got me very interested in how I could do such thing. So basically, before I used to do what every metapakin VTuber did back in the day and use Japanese names up the wazoo, right? Because Hololive, it was just how it was back then, back in the good old days of VTubing. But
Back in our days.
back in my day. But Atra knows this, might know this, but back then my last name was not Horang as it is now. It was Sume. And that's actually
yeah, I
what the
remember
scar
that.
on my Sume meaning claw in Japanese, literally just claw, right? I wasn't a very creative person, but and that's what the scar on my, for those who wonder, that's what the scar on my eye is supposed to represent. It's just a stylish version of the kanji sume.
Oh,
Oh.
I didn't realize that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and because I
Trivia.
changed my name, I just make up random stories about how I got the scar. I think I
It
told
changes
Asher
every time.
once- Yeah, I think I told Asher once the violin strings hit my eye 4 times.
Oh my
Damn.
gosh.
One wasn't enough, dude.
But whatchamacallit, it was through the, how do I say, the impact of people being so creative with their designs that I wanted to become more creative with mine. So the first step, obviously I couldn't get a different VTuber model at the time, but I do plan in the future, whenever Dancho 3.0, 4.0, 4.6 comes out, that I do want to incorporate more of said like influences into my design. So, you know, hey folks, look out for that. Me and my hanbok, I'm gonna look stylish as fuck.
Yeah, let's go,
Let's
dude.
go.
But yeah, no, that's basically my take on it. Physically, I don't actually have any influence from my heritage and culture, just because it wasn't that time. You know, some of y'all might have came in here like two years ago. Some people came in a year ago. Maybe some people started the same time I did. But you know, the only correlation is the coincidence of what my Korean name meant. You know, and then my theme. The only reason I went with a tiger is because my mother liked tigers, so I was like, okay, I'll go with that. But
You know, the
yeah,
irony
no,
is you said that you didn't want to appear Korean, but like that's the first thing I noticed about you when I first like came into your stream. And I'm like, oh, cool. Asian guy, Asian American guy. Deep voice. Seems like a cool dude. I'm gonna hang around for a bit.
well, I do believe like at that point when you came in, that's when I was more open to the idea of like allowing my influences to, well, or allowing my culture to influence my behavior, even. You know.
Yeah, you were very
Because-
openly Korean by then.
Yes, just as like a little side note when we were talking about how we grew up Asian and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
I mostly refrain from talking if you haven't noticed, just because I haven't had the best childhood per se in that regard. But you know, I basically, long story short, despised Asians or despised Koreans with all my heart. But you know, as I grew older, I began to develop more pride within my heritage, to allow more influences into my design. And it's something I think is like the overall theme that a lot of us talked about consistently, in that you can be aware of all the toxic natures of a culture, of your heritage, but at the same time it's just a, you know, a flip of a coin. Fuck, I couldn't do the toggle in time, but it's a flip of a coin where
He lost all his toggles.
Just pretend to see Dancho flipping his coin.
yeah, I mean, we'll do the coin toss another time. But it's my point was, you realize the toxic natures of it, but you also see the bright, like the good parts of it, the ones that really, you know, that you love and absolutely adore with so much beauty within it. And I feel like that's the kind of pride that we all enjoy.
Yeah.
There's one takeaway to take away
definitely.
from this entire series is that we can definitely do a Korean trauma bonding episode.
XD.
Let's do a round
not
table
what I
of
expected.
generational trauma bonding. Let's do it.
It's time to
Let's get
cry.
you and Cootie in a
Heck
room.
yeah.
And I mean, I feel like me and Cootie would have like the same story but different branches into it. So I feel like that'd
Basically.
actually be a legitimately good episode
Yeah.
for people who want to cry. That is.
Yeah.
I also got to remember how much to share, how much not to share. 'Cause, hey, I love my family now, but you know. But
Speaking of
you
share-
know,
Speaking of sharing,
But,
Ali,
uh-huh.
Ali, you yourself, like with your entire VTuber concept, like you had your heritage in mind, if I'm correct, right?
you're so anime.
I got my entire idea after my mom passed away. Actually, I decided to go
Oh,
more with my culture for current Althemia's design. I'm gonna put the puppy down so you guys can actually see my outfit.
yay!
Um,
Showcase.
But my outfit is actually heavily inspired by both Hawaiian and Japanese culture.
Mm.
The flowers in my hair are plumerias, which confuses a lot of people, and I did that on purpose because a plumeria behind your left ear shows that you're taken. So me having two in my hair just is very entertaining to me. And
When you know, you know.
yeah, and original Ally was just going to have like the white top, like the just the white top bra thingy, and she was going to have the purple skirt that you see, the purple underskirt that some people can see. And then but then I realized that because ironically a new Hawaiian restaurant had opened up where I live, and I was eating a teriyaki burger, and I was like, there's a large Japanese influence in Hawaii. So I decided to mix in kimono style with her outfit. And this is kind of how it came out between me and my designer.
That's so
Mm.
cute.
By the way, when I
And,
said anime, I didn't mean to imply that it was a strictly Japanese. I just meant how bright your hair is, like with the shading and whatnot.
That was actually my model mama's idea. She made my hair super bright.
Yeah, no, the reason I mentioned is because it reminded me of that one Genshin Impact character, the redhead with the motorcycle, how her hair ignites, right? That's kind of what it reminded me of, like
I was like,
like a
which one?
sunset.
And then you said that.
Yeah,
I know
your
what you're
hair
talking
reminds me
about.
of a sunset, if anything.
That was like the idea, actually. I wanted my hair to kind of have like sunset vibes because I haven't designed her, but I do actually want to put like my mom kind of in Allie's universe as kind of like a memorial for her in a sense.
Yeah.
And I wanted my mom, because my mom had always dyed her hair to hide her grays, and the color she chose was like this really orangey kind of color.
Oh.
So when I make my mom's like kind of character, I wanted her to have like this orange to red look, kind of to represent a sunrise. So I kind of wanted them to be opposites in that regard.
That's very sweet.
Because in
Mhm.
because in Hawaii, it's very common for people not to say birthday or death day. They'll say your sunrise or sunset.
Oh, that's
So-
gorgeous.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now
And
I
since Allie's a-
feel bad for the way I incorporated my father into my design. He's
Oh,
bald, so I'm
And-
bald. That's it.
So that's why since Allie, I always wanted Allie to be kind of like a ghost and be like more spiritual in the Hawaiian universe. So I gave her purpley pink hair so she would represent the sunset, and my mom would have the sunrise hair.
That's awesome.
And my lore is too long to say right now, but my lore is also entangled with the story of Hi'iaka and Pele, actually.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, I know them
I wasn't-
vaguely because of a gacha game I play, so thank you for reconfirming.
So, my friend actually is actually who inspired me to do this with my lore, because he made his character the son of Hermes, I think, some Greek god. And I was like, hey, I could do that. I could kind of do that with Polynesian lore. Albeit I didn't make my character the daughter of anybody, but I did like kind of intertwine her with some of the Polynesian lore, specifically Hi'iaka and Pele's story.
Mm.
So, yeah, I kind of went all out with this.
That's awesome.
No, and
though.
it shows it's great. It's a great result. Like
Mhm.
Yee.
upon first, what's the correct word? Upon first impression, everything you said exactly what I was thinking.
That's
Maybe
awesome.
minus
That makes me super happy.
Yeah, just minus the purple part on the skirt. I was like, okay, I get you there now.
Well, the purple part of the skirt I originally had because I had the sunset theme in my head, so I kind of wanted it to match somehow.
Oh, you know what? Now
Oh,
I
yeah.
see the lighting under your skirt. Okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Puppy
Okay.
also has Hawaiian origins.
Cute.
A puppy in the Polynesian they had dogs. I forgot what they were called, but they would use dogs as kind of like spirit keepers to like protect the living spirits. So that is why I have puppy.
That's crazy. Yo, your whole concept is just multifaceted. That's amazing.
Me
With-
just fall
with
in
the-
suit.
With the puppy, I really wanted to integrate my IRL dog into this somehow because whenever I'm streaming and stuff, she's literally right there. I literally have a bed under my desk because one, I got inspired from Dancho because I saw him do this, and she's always under my desk. But since she's always like near me when I'm streaming and stuff, I just wanted to include her in my VTuber stuff. So I did a lot of research, and that's when I found out the origins of the dogs in Hawaii. So I was like, puppy, mine. I found a way to intertwine this.
That's awesome. I just want to say, like, I know like we're having a lot of fun here, and then we have to like, I want to hear like Dolce as well, but I just want to make sure that we're not taking too much of your time.
Nah, take all the time. I want to know the story behind the fucking magic circle.
There was a reason why, like, these episodes are usually 2 hours long, but the episode that Dancho was on last time was 4 hours long.
Oh, yeah.
That was a really good episode, though.
In my defense,
Uh-huh.
you know, there were just some good-looking dudes. Not what
Fair,
I'm saying.
fair.
Man, you want to
There was also
men.
some technical difficulties that turned into funny moments.
Mm.
No,
have to
it's
replay that.
it's quite all right. I do want to hear from Dolce though.
Yes, Dolce.
Yeah. I'd say for me, I kind of went in a little bit of a different direction. I did think about bringing in my Filipino culture, and I studied a lot of like the Maria Clara, like the butterfly
shit, you have eyes.
sleeves, and oh yeah, and a whole bunch of stuff like that. I've studied quite a bit of the attire, and in my head, I was just like, I could do more callbacks to my culture, but I was afraid of having it on there and then just being like, yeah, you're a fucking fake Filipino, bro. You don't speak Bisaya. You were born in America. And I was just like, well, like,
damn.
and also
Bringing,
in my
like, a
head, I was just,
costume,
yeah, it was like, it felt like a costume because as much as like I love Philippine culture and I try my best to connect to it in my adulthood, it's more of like a part of me, but not just who I am. And I wanted my design to more so speak to who I like, to represent me as a person, which is why I went through like a whole redesign, you know, like the big titties are gone.
No.
Shush.
I know I'm gonna miss him too. I like
Unless-
originally when I made my model, I put like big titties on my model because I was like, I like drawing titties. As an artist, I love it. It's fun. But then I started to get to this point where I was just like, but this doesn't feel like who I am in my body type, in my look, and in my who I feel on the inside. It feels like a part of me, but not necessarily me. So I did like a whole redo. And I wanted a nice fresh start. And that's how I ended up with like a lot of aspects. I did choose like a lot of gold to kind of tie back to the Philippine sun.
Very nice.
And also gold also just looks really great on darker skin tones. And I definitely tried to get my skin tone as close as to my IRL skin tone. I mean, for those of you who are very melanated, you know that like you can stand in the sun for 2 seconds and you're a different color.
Different colors right now. Yeah. So.
Yup. So
Can I just say that I used to be outside a lot, and so my skin was pretty dark back then. Now, my skin tone is how you expect a sewer rat.
Oh,
the sewer.
oh, but don't, you weren't that pasty when I saw you. Don't shush your face.
No, no, no. I mean, this was before the VTuber community, right? Yeah,
Of
no,
Before
no.
you
course.
In
such a-
person, I am more or less a turtle inside my room.
Oh,
buddy.
no.
Not the other-
I mean, not that it's bad. I love staying fucking indoors. That's all
That shit's
dragged out.
awesome.
Mood.
Yeah, but continue, please.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like why I also I myself love Gyaru culture. But I changed to referring to myself as a gal instead of a full-on
Oh.
Gyaru because
Mhm.
it's gotten to this point in the Gyaru community where if you're not doing it the exact way that some people think it should be, they like jump on you.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it's a
man,
part
you
of
do
the-
it.
Of that, actually.
Right.
yeah, it's a part of the culture that I like. On one hand, you know, like I get wanting to keep the integrity of the original
Yep.
style,
Mhm.
but we can innovate and we can let people like, you know,
Exactly.
express it in different capacities because not everybody dressing the exact same way is like the opposite of how it's supposed to be. You know what I mean?
Yep,
And
yep.
it's about empowerment and not tearing each other down for not
Mhm.
doing it the quote unquote correct way. But anyway,
Yeah.
Nobody's more gatekeepy than people trying to gatekeep Japanese culture who aren't themselves Japanese.
it's we could have a whole episode on just like
Oh, yeah.
on J fashion or fashion
think
Oh,
each of us
cultures
could
in
have
general.
our own
Ayo,
episodes, to be
Atra,
honest.
bonus episode? Bonus episode?
We could talk
Theory
about that
story.
for hours.
Yeah.
Encore.
Invite me and Dolce again.
But yeah, you know, and I've designed like a lot of like secondary outfits for another Gyaru style that I resonate with now a bit more. But yeah, for me, my design more so resonates with me as a person rather than like my culture.
Hmm.
I
And
just
you have
noticed
also,
your
like-
circle gets bigger and lights up when your eyes get bigger, and I've been staring at it ever since I noticed that.
That's cool.
circle?
Do I not am I not wrong to say like what I'm most fascinated about? Not saying that everything else is terrible or anything, but when I see that magic circle and I see the goddamn like tail tick-tock, and I'm thinking, you know, metronome, it's got my
Mhm.
attention.
It makes
Are
the
you
brain go blur. It
being
draws the eye.
hypnotized?
Yeah, it's
does.
like I almost want to be like, man, move the fuck over, Dolce. I want to see the.
Oh, wait a minute. You motherfucker.
Turn around. Just turn around so you can see like the backside of the circle and stick things.
I'm trying to wiggle out of
Brain
it.
go blur. By the way, like that does remind me of that like amazing fan art that you did, Dolce, like one time for AAPI month where you
Oh, yeah.
put me in a bunch of other Filipino VTubers in traditional Filipino garb. And that was really it was really nice.
I did
Aw.
it in a way that I combined not only like traditional Philippine wear that is very famous, that we're very famous for, but also like helped combine it with modern or even westernized fashion in a way that felt authentic to me. Because I'm not just Filipino, I'm also, you know, American. So, and I thought that would be such a fun way, and also to represent everybody's like different senses of style, and you know, and to help communicate that they're not just Filipino. You know, yes, being Filipino is what bonds us together and what we are proud of, but is not the only thing about us. There is a whole person underneath there.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
We're like an onion. We got layers.
Yeah, there's.
If you take
I
nothing away
love
from this
how-
chat, it's that Asian Americans are like onions.
Exactly. I love
Salads.
how I will say like salads. You toss them. We
We are
got
like
all
onion
sorts of things
salads,
tossed in
correct.
them.
Onion salad.
I
Yeah.
will say, like, I love how like
That's
a
a
lot of folks they're
danchohorang
just
quote.
like quote that like danchohorang 2025. I love how like
2025.
some folks like
Oh,
I
You call me an
understand.
ogre?
What are you doing in my
And if he disagrees,
casino?
he can say it on his own stream when he does stream eventually.
I will say that like I do understand your sides of like, you know, you didn't want to of how you didn't really feel that like depicting like traditional garb was like really like you didn't really feel, and yeah, that I understand. I feel like I was the opposite, where I didn't really grow up with as much of my culture, especially since like, I didn't grow up in the Philippines. I ended up learning about like my traditional garb and all that like later on in life, and I felt that like like after learning like just how beautiful our traditional garb was, like I really wanted to like implement that into my design. So I do feel like I'm kind of like the opposite,
Yeah,
where
no,
I'm
that's
just like
wonderful.
I'm just like after discovering like the different garbs that we have in our culture, I'm just like I want to implement as much of my heritage as subtly as I can into my design.
Yeah.
um I don't know if there was like anything else that you wanted to add, Dolce.
I mean, I think it's definitely across the board of no matter how you tackle it, it's about what you want to communicate.
Yeah.
Um, if you want to communicate that part of your heritage because it's a big part of who you are, then go. Like definitely, it is seen across the board. I've seen people do it in really wonderful ways, and sometimes very subtle ways where it's just like, this is not something I want to communicate because it's not conducive to my content or it's not conducive to what I talk about or something that I even mention that much. And that's okay too, you do it in the capacity that makes it. Expressing yourself is all about feeling good. Fashion in all aspects, digital
Heck
and
yeah.
otherwise, is all about feeling good.
Yippee! I will say that like a lot of folks tend to be like very fascinated with my design. Mainly in ironically enough though, not I guess like not so much. I mean like some folks are like fascinated by the attire, but they're more fascinated by the sword I wield.
Actually, yeah, good point.
Oh yeah, the
Especially
it's what was it? The wavy one. What's it called?
yes,
I know it's
Chris
a
sword.
Yeah, the Chris sword specifically.
So for folks who have not seen me spam everybody on their tier lists with my one design, I'm usually depicted with a Chris sword, which is mostly like, or I guess you could say is historically seen in the Philippines, but also in other Southeast Asian countries such as Indonesia and I believe Malaysia, but I could be wrong. And it is mostly well known for its wavy blade at the base. And I love the sword so much. I've always wanted to have one when growing up, and like just having that part of my culture in my VTuber design was like, yeah, that was like one of the things that I wanted to incorporate as a Filipino knight, alongside with like other things such as like yeah, like the Maria Clara influence I had like on my top. This is a kind of, I guess this is not. It's kind of like in your face, but not really. Oh, hey! Oh, there I am! Oh, hello! Where the heck did you get that picture of me, Atra?
I had the staff bring in the cardboard standee we have in the back room.
Oh
yeah.
that's true.
Everybody
That's
check under
what
your
those are for.
seats. You all get standees of Lori.
Time to fight.
Take me home. Put me in your pocket. Good luck. But I guess
I
like
just realized sorry.
what's
It's
that?
No, I just realized how fucking pink you all are.
Yep.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Is that a Filipino thing or just coincidence?
I mean,
It's a
there's
VTuber
also-
thing.
It's
Might
a
be,
weird
because Hime is
coincidence.
also very pink.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Hmm.
that, and there's a lot of Filipino VTubers that I know that are also delinquents for some goddamn reason, or have been a delinquent at some
There's an
point in
entire
their
group of
design.
delinquent
Absolutely. I
people.
mean, I'm not in that phase yet, but
It's I've noticed
Yeah.
it as a trend, and I'm like, there's nothing necessarily in Philippine culture or otherwise that would suggest why this has become a correlation, and yet it is I can count like at least 5 of them off the top of my head. all wonderful people, but like,
Yep.
Yep.
how do we all end up
Ew.
with the same conclusion, guys?
Yeah, I'm just like, the
Exactly.
more
ways.
Filipinos I think of, the more pink I'm thinking of too.
Yeah,
Ayo,
they're
ayo.
just delinquents. It's a funny, it's
we're
a
all just a
really
bunch of
funny coincidence. I don't know why it happens.
Troublemakers. That's
Literally
what
just
we
ran
are.
a mental list in my head of the Samoan VTubers I know, and
Mhm.
none of us are purple except for me. So
Wait. There's more than one?
there's 2 others.
Oh, why do I keep inviting you back then?
Oh,
I'm playing.
I'm dying.
Atra doesn't
my
love me
God.
anymore, guys.
I'm playing.
Hey,
You're
Atra.
so ducky. No, I'm
If,
kidding. I'm
if
kidding.
Cootie shaved his head, or if I put on hair, can you tell the difference between us?
He's like twice as white as you are, so yes.
Does he have the
Twice
same
as
beard
long.
as you, Oppa?
Hmm?
Does he
Yeah,
have the
what?
same beard as you?
Well, to be fair, we have like hair on the opposite side of our heads, so.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Oh wait! I just thought of something. Dancho, you said you really like Miku, right? Does
Sure.
that mean you have a do you have a Miku wig for your modeling?
Oh, Hatsune Miku. I mean,
Because I remember
Even
because I remember you used to do the thing where you took all the VTuber wig.
So, fun fact is that I did used to have it, but it didn't, how do I say, hold up well, basically. Like, I had to get rid of it, and I didn't get another one since then. So, it's because more like, for some reason, it wouldn't land well on my head. So someone would have to, like, draw a custom, like, hair of Hatsune Miku for my shiny chrome. Like, my specific
Got
head
it, got
shape, if
it.
that makes sense. Yeah, like I could grab someone who's like similar, but I'd have to shade of blue and stuff. But yeah, not a specific Hatsune Miku one. That'd be funny though.
I need to give you my hair at some point.
You do, and I'll.
I don't know how you
take
people give him your hair.
Yes.
Magic.
I don't know how to do it, so I just stared. I'm like, look at all the hair.
Some are custom. Some are custom drawn. Some are taken from the layer sheet that you would get from your VTuber model. So
Yeah.
it really depends. But also you have to be careful because if you say have like back hair like Dolce does, then you have to give it to me in separate layers. Otherwise, like my head will literally
back hair.
not.
Hair that's longer than your shoulders. So
Oh,
no, like
yeah.
like the back of the head, right?
Like, how do you
Basically,
know Dolce has back hair?
Yeah, I just shaved off all my back hair and taped it to his head.
I
There you
mean,
go.
that's how I get the donations. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it's like whenever I do the whole hair thing, some people send me like they're just a unlayered version of like their full head / hair, and I cannot use it because it does not quote unquote fit
Oh my
on my
stars! I
model.
can't.
Yeah.
I can't even send you mine then because mine is divided into like 5-6 parts.
Well, yeah, that's the better one. In fact, like you can send it to me like that, and then it's just up to me to set it up like a fucking jigsaw puzzle. But
Yeah,
No,
but
I-
I have to send it like that, and that's where my brain goes shut down mode.
you might have to ask someone else for that because whatchamacallit, I do have several hairs that are like built into different parts. For example, let's grab my good friend Kiari. Her hair does it show? I don't know if the VTuber thing
Yes.
shows.
Oh yeah. There
It's
it is.
This one, I'd have to put it on the back of my head like a wig.
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, let me
When you
now
make
put
models
it
for a
on
living, you
the-
know how like the layer. You think about the layering before you send it already.
Yeah. Honestly, it took me a while to even like know that's how it worked. But basically, I have to like put it behind my head like this,
Yeah.
right? And then I'd have to
Get the bangs and put it on the front, and then it creates the illusion of one piece.
Yeah, and then let's keep it simple. She has like 3 parts, but let's keep it like 2. Then I become like a dog boy like this. If you can drag me down, Astro.
Hang on.
Pigtails, like so. I guess I could send it to you because then it's just
Yeah, so it'd be
one layer.
basically like this. So when I mean back hair, I mean like the back of the hair. You'd have to set it to be in separate layers.
to send it to you. Well, when you remove my pigtails, it goes down a good few layers. So I only have like 3 layers of hair to send.
Yeah, now I just become a samurai.
Say you have a top knot.
Exactly. And they have that bald aesthetic for reasons I always forget. Which was like
I know what you're talking about, but I also always forget it. And I literally just saw a TikTok.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was just like the fashion, but they have symbolisms for every fucking thing back then, so. But yeah, besides that, hair is subjective, bald is forever.
He did the shine thing. Okay.
As you rise me up to symbolic.
Anyway, just to sort of wrap us up, I guess my sort of like final question for you guys, just because it is getting to 2 a.m. in the East Coast, is
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Another hour?
no. That place is to be
I'm
tomorrow.
dying.
I should be in bed by now.
We're gonna make Atra
Technically-
eat before his events tomorrow.
Technically, it is already tomorrow.
Ay, ay, ay.
Let him ask the question. God damn it.
Yeah. You're saying Atra?
Okay, but listen, after. Go ahead.
So the question is, and I'm parsing together my head right now. In roughly a year from now, when the next API month comes around, as it is the 31st right now, it's the end of API month, what do you hope to have incorporated into your content regarding your Asian American identity? Whether it might be you fashion or just talking about some stuff from your like cultural background, or do you find that to be even something that you want to bring into your content, I guess?
A really short answer for this.
Yeah.
But I really want to play more games that have like Hawaiian characters in it, Hawaiian voice actors in it. I want to do like kind of want to just put more more of my culture into the content I'm actually making, because most of the games I play are because I do visual novels, most of them are actually American visual novels because they're mostly itch.io. I know the ones that are on like Square Enix and stuff are based outside, like in I think Square Enix has that one horror one that I think is based in Japan. But a lot of the smaller ones on itch are Americanized, and I'm really hoping to like kind of break out. I love supporting my indie devs, don't get me wrong, but I'm really hoping to like break out of that shell and go play some of the bigger companies games to see, just because I want to incorporate more of those types of games into my content, because some of them really do represent the culture really well.
That's a great idea.
Dancho scared the heck out of me. I was like, what is going on here?
We gotta be twins.
That's a great idea.
going on
For
here?
Lunar New Year, actually, I do grab like games from Asian developers and just play them all week long.
I don't remember the developer's name, but I know they made a game that you played, Atra, Time Bound or something like that. No time. I don't remember. It wasn't really a visual.
Doesn't Stable One's game about me count?
No. Well, Patrick says so.
I can't
But,
take you seriously
there
like
was-
that.
You're not wrong. I
I
can't
am
stop
the
staring
demon,
either.
I'm the Demon King Dancho. Fear me.
But I did recently buy a game that is Korean based, but I'm scared to play it because I don't know how to pronounce any of the names.
Does it have big titties?
It's called No Case Left Unresolved, and I haven't actually like played it yet.
Way to power
You have
So-
not answered the question.
I don't know.
Listen,
Oh my
A
god.
We're
character
about
might have
two
big
different-
titties.
we're talking about two different Korean games then.
Does it have? Danjo's asking, does it have plot or does it have plot?
Because one is
Yeah.
you play on the phone, the other you play by a legitimate developer, so
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
I just had a light bulb.
One's a gacha game, the other one is a full indie game. Pick your poison.
Yeah, once you mentioned it, I was like, oh, wait a sec. Once you mentioned phone, I had a light bulb. But yeah, I just recently brought No Case Left Unresolved, and that one's based in Korea about a missing girl.
No case solved.
There's No Case Left Unresolved. I know it's by the same company that made one of the games that Atra played. I just can't remember the name of the game or the name of the company.
Interesting.
But I also want to try the horror game that's by Square Enix because it's it looks Japanese lore based from what I could pick up. Because what's the gates called?
Tori?
Yes, it has a lot of things to do with Tories and spirits and stuff. So
yeah,
I want to try that one because it interests me. Those are the only two that come to my head right now. I know I have like a list somewhere, but I want to try out like more games that are more out there when it comes to like cultural representation and all that.
I think it's a very admirable goal. Featuring games from indie developers and games that are the representation that we've been asking for a long time.
I really love. There's this one indie game I played called Mind, Mind, Mine, and one of the dating options was a Hawaiian guy, and I was so scared to play it because I thought they were gonna mess him up. But they actually got him a Hawaiian voice actor who used Pigeon, so I was in love instantly.
Very nice. How about the rest
But
of
I'm
lot
just
of
gonna
the-
say the trickster from Dead by Daylight. he brings me joy.
Is that the Korean guy?
Yeah, he scratches an
I had to
itch in
think.
my
I was like,
brain.
which one? I
Whenever
had
he
to think
pops
for a
someone in
second. I was
the
like,
head.
which one is that one? But
It's
yeah,
like
I
it's a
don't think I
fucking
can add
K-pop
any
idol.
more. I don't think I can shove any more of my culture into my lore and design.
That is fair. Totally fair.
I think I topped it off. But actual content wise, I just wish to play more games.
Yeah.
I will just straight up say no. I'm just gonna do as I do. I don't think I will be happy if I see, Korean characters here and there. But at the end of the day, I'm there for me. And I shall play as me. And if I play a zombie game, I'm hoping that I survive. That's the sort of vibe I go with.
Sometimes being your authentic self is the best representation. So no harm in that,
Exactly.
honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember before I
Yes.
rebranded, I was playing Life is Strange Before the Storm. And at the very beginning of the game, there's a guy who I'd never because I watched people do playthroughs of the game, but I never noticed that he had tattoos. And if you mock his tattoos, he says these are authentic Samoan tattoos, and it got me so happy because I was like, wait, what?
Wow, amazeballs.
And that was one of the things that also that kind of inspired this rebrand, because I would get so excited whenever I saw something like that. I was like, I want to be the person that people see and be like, that person's what I am.
Man, that's so mad shiz. I'm just repeating Life is Strange dialogue, by the way. These are legitimate phrases they say.
Dude, they say some crazy quotes.
No, they say shit that they think teenagers say.
Yeah, you could definitely tell that was a thing. That was laid on a little too heavy, especially in the first game.
Right. Lori and Dolce, how about you?
You wanna? Oh, okay, yeah.
My Canadian courtesy was just like, oh, for sure, it's all good. Yeah, no, for sure.
For me, I definitely want to. Although I can't really, I have a hard time kind of reconnecting with my culture through language. What I have found that I enjoy is through food. So like one of my goals was to definitely cook more Filipino food on stream, or to learn how to fucking sew the butterfly sleeves or a Filipinada.
Mhm.
I want to learn how to sew one of those. That's like a personal goal. And you know what? If they
Butterfly
bring
are
back
beautiful.
Josie Rizal in Tekken 8, best believe I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna learn how to play her.
Yeah.
I literally bought Tekken 8 yesterday, and it did not occur to me that Josie Rizal is missing, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's
Tekken 8,
her
for what the game is very
Yeah.
good on representation, especially in the martial
Yeah.
art aspects.
Yeah, she uses a special martial art that's specific to the Philippines. I forgot what it was called. And then
Okay.
it's like mixed with like a little bit of like Muay Thai as well.
That
And
sucks. It has such a cute design, too.
yeah, and her name, Josie Rizal, is modeled after the famous character Jose Rizal, which is like part of this like whole like he has like a very famous story in the Philippines and stuff like that. So it's I think the only thing that's really weird about her character is that she just cries all the time, and I was like, that's really random. But to me, I'm just like, well, at least Josie's cute, so I guess I'll let it.
Yeah.
I'll sweep it under the rug. At least we got a Filipino character that's cute, and her fucking moveset is crazy good. So you know what? I'll take it.
Yeah, so my
She may not
friend,
be in Tekken 8, but Jose Rizal is in Civilization 7. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
True.
so my
Yeah.
friend, my Filipino friend, he played Tekken religiously, right? Tekken
Mhm.
7. I tried to get into Tekken 7, and I stopped playing after he kept sicking Josie on me.
Yeah. No.
Get
she
ready
fucking
to fly.
hurts. Get ready to fly.
I'm like,
Stop
please, I
crying
want to
after you
stop
beat
flying.
my ass. It makes me more mad.
I want to stop flying, please.
randomly,
the thing is,
Asuka,
apparent-
of all people, was beating my ass yesterday. I don't know why.
Oh, everybody. Tekken 8's a whole different discussion. I fucking love that game, but you know.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Look for people play with. Noted.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Lori.
Yeah, go for it, Lori.
I mean, oh man. I mean, well, I haven't been doing any content, but I will say, well, I already announced it on my birthday. But I will be making content soon. So
Big
the VTuber design that you have seen, it will finally be coming to life very soon. I really do hope that with me finally embracing becoming a VTuber, I am really excited to reveal the lore that I have in particular, because I really wanted it to be to have some influences in some Filipino mythology. Heck, I'm planning to revise some things that I already have, such as everything from my logo. I really want to have a little bit of a version of my logo, so that way it can actually be translated into I think it's Babayan that we have. It's a old language that we have in the Philippines that folks are trying to preserve. And I would love to try and find someone who is able to translate my logo into Babayan. Along with that, I also do hope that I can also reveal some other designs that I have, because the form that I have right now, it's not even my final form.
Hell yeah.
This
It's not
is
even
my
my
final form.
final form.
So yeah, with the future designs that I have, I want to still keep with the Filipino influence, but also mixing in with more knightly influences as well. So you might see a pair of butterfly sleeve pauldrons in the future. Wink,
Let's
wink.
Ooh.
Yeah.
go.
So that, yeah, I'm very excited to finally be actually considered as a VTuber and be amongst you folks as well. So having this opportunity has been a wonderful time, and yeah, I guess with that, with me being last, I can say thank you so much, Atra, for having this, giving us this opportunity to join you on these episodes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you
it's
for
my
having
pleasure.
us.
Yes.
This is a perfect segue into letting you guys do some plugs to wrap up the episode, actually. So, starting with Dancho, why don't you go ahead and go first? What you got to plug for us, Dancho?
Hello, I am Dancho.
Good talk.
Hi,
Good talk, Bosh.
Dancho.
If you want me to plug,
That's my Oshi,
there ain't
everybody.
nothing- there ain't nothing I could plug except nothing.
Well,
No,
I'll-
no, I'm
I'll-
sorry.
I'll-
Out
I'll
of all
fucking-
the
I'll
people
fucking
to
do it
go
for him.
first. Got nothing.
danchohorang is the boss of the Golden Tiger Eye Casino. He will be coming back at some time in the near future, either as Dancho or as somebody else. The fact of the matter is the man is multi-talented, loves League of Legends, and playing many, many games. A consummate singer and
Actually-
performer.
Actually, I can't play League of Legends anymore.
It's all about teamfight tactics.
Oh,
No, I can't play that either.
Oh shit.
They
dang.
literally won't let me re-download League, and I'm like, okay.
Aw.
You know what? Maybe it's for the best.
It's not, maybe it's not that I can't. It's not that I don't want to play. It's that I can't.
You know, maybe this is for the best. This is a good change.
Yeah,
You know, my
maybe
rivals have
it's
been
for the best.
pretty intense lately. And I just need another one of the Chicontalo.
Anyway, follow Dancho. Allie, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Althemia. You can find me over on YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, everything. And I've been on medical hiatus for like ever, and I'm finally coming back next week. So there's that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Chat, make sure you follow Allie and welcome them back from medical hiatus. They are
Make sure
Yeah.
you loop them follows.
They wear their heritage on their sleeve. Lovely conversationalist and always a fun time to have around. Thank you so much, Allie.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
And Lori, what you got to plug for us?
Oh yeah. So yeah, I am once again. Yeah, I am Pretty Night Lori. You can find me, pretty much, yeah, like at the majority of the social medias. Everything from like mainly like TikTok to Instagram, where I mainly focus on my J fashion content. Recently I've had Blue Sky under the same handle, Pretty Night Lori. The only handle that you will find me differently is on this Twitter, as I like to call it. So on Twitter, I'm actually the Pretty Night, with a 1 replacing the I, because someone already took Pretty Night with an I.
There you go.
Yippee! Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Very excited to see what you got coming up, Lori.
Yeah, and hopefully you'll see me on Twitch soon. Maybe Twitch, maybe YouTube. I still haven't decided. We'll see.
Hell yeah.
They both have
Big
their
hype,
ups and
big
downs.
hype.
Mhm.
I've seen you around for such a long time. It's really been a pleasure to actually get to talk to you for once. So, thank you.
Oh my goodness! Thank well, no, thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
you.
Trying to be courteous in front of a
Don't just
comedian.
thank
That's
you.
challenge accepted.
Thank you. Shut up. You. And last but not least, Dolce, what you got going on?
Well, once I'm done with being in moving hell, I can technically this model that I'm using right now hasn't actually properly debuted. I've been mostly using it to make sure to troubleshoot any problems that might be going on. So some of the hush hush. But after that, or after I'm out of moving hell, I plan to debut this model properly. And it'll be great. It'll more changing emotes, changing everything. Same old me sucking ass at video games and getting my ass beaten Tekken.
Hell yeah!
Come beat my
buddy.
ass on stream.
Damn.
We can't wait, Dolce.
Dolce's creativity is unparalleled, and honestly, such a delight to talk to you today.
Ah, what the heck? Thank you.
I missed you, Dolce.
Thanks.
And I've been your host, AtramentumX, Fry Streamer and Vtuber. You can get all my links at atramentum.inc. That's atramentum.ink. This is the final episode of AAPI VTuber Talks for Series 2, Episode 5. There may be a special episode in the future regarding Asian Americans and sex work. I'm still working on that, so stay tuned for that. But for the time being, we are wrapping up the series on the 31st day of May. I want to give a special thank you to all of our panelists. We've had the lovely time of speaking to 20 Asian American VTubers this month, and our 5 co-hosts, including Doncho, Princess Raska, Cootie, Hime Cinda, and Danktopus. Thank you very, very much to all of them. This is a fashion project of mine because I've always wanted to bring this out into the world as a lifelong Asian American scholar, journalist, and just passionate about this sort of things. So just thank you guys in chat on the panels for just humoring me on this. It's been the opportunity of a lifetime. This is probably the most important thing I do as a VTuber. So thank you very, very much.
And it is our honor to be on here anytime he calls us. Asian Americans assemble!
Assemble the Avengers!
And folks, if you haven't seen the previous episodes, please go see Atra's VODs. They're all here on this channel, right, Atra?
They're on this
Yeah,
channel.
he's gonna
They will.
subtitle every single one of them. Wow.
Yes.
That's the
Every
other
single
announcement. They are also going to be uploaded to YouTube. I don't know if I've actually formally announced this yet or not, but I am launching the Asian American and Canadian VTuber Network. That will be a umbrella organization for Asian American and Canadian VTubers to sort of collaborate, work together, and occasionally meet up to do talk shows and game nights and stuff like that. So yes, we will be doing this again next year, but I'll be having smaller events throughout the year, just with like various API folks. And if you were not able to make it into this year's Series 2 or Series 1, and you are API and you're one of my buddies, like, trust me, I'm coming for you too.
Oh Lord, coming.
Not gonna
Yep.
lie, I thought this was transitioning into you actually going to subtitle all of your VODs. I was like, holy shit.
That's like literally,
Dude,
like, I
can't
think 50 hours of content, unfortunately.
I can't even do that. That's too much. I'll subtitle the clips.
I don't think anyone should actually subtitle their VODs. That's like, I mean, good for you, but at the same
Okay.
time, like, that's too much time invested.
But yeah.
Some people do, but I kind of question why.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm like, it's better off if you focus that
Props.
subtitling time into like editing time. But hey, to each their own at the end of the day.
Right.
I applaud
But
them.
for now, we will be signing off from the studio. Thank you again, sir, very, very much. And happy API month. And also, if you're celebrating, happy Pride. Good night, everybody.
Happy Pride!
Be happy, pride.